I get it.
Okay, mbijan raganya.
Albaka.
Mbaka important.
Yo, nga transfer la sto.
Ya transfer la.
Ha, code nyingi.
Okay. Important. Nsila ID soto.
Sa soto. Sorry. I get it.
Mbijan bro.
Albaka.
Mbaka.
Bara alla service o tariaka.
Mbare.
Mo ki janna nun kunu bara tariaka.
Jannom yona forest de bureau. Gambia tonkon na no mbari ya bere. Birim koyna fo katon.
Bari si kodo kino katon ni fo bolong blabe.
56 branches mola soto Gambia jang.
Ha?
Gambia kono ani Gambia bantala bankol. Nko kodo kiya bere. Kodo sifa fo palindiro fo nyaadi lafta même na kodi to poto ni kodi maraw. Jannom number 1 di nyonta. Andum fana nata another enterprise sotale. Wolam nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale le dadi mani domorol bi fana beteat. Gambia dawda yalo ma fa kendol sotale je.
Wo moyo ha.
Apelenta
barka ba. Ni lafta nyelan kendol e bina.
Yalo bukani la ko la barka ba.
Yalo ndel chosano lo.
Abarka.
Of owning your dream homes, EJ Investment is here for you. Secure our quality bungalows with 2, 3 or 4 bedrooms, or our story buildings 3 or 4 to 5 bedrooms at very affordable prices with flexible payment plans at our Sanyang Seaview Estate, where you can enjoy the cool breeze with modern infrastructure such as tar roads, covered drainage system, modern electrification with street lights, gated entrance with security posts, and social amenities such as gas station, shopping mall, medical clinic, park, schools, children daycare, and a lot more. Our dedicated team of professionals will keep the estate clean at all times, provide security and patrol team within the estate premises, install latest technologies such as CCTV, Wi-Fi, home network installation, solar panel, and power backup system. Also, check out for our additional home facilities and interior design service such as premium tiling, wall plaster, home landscape, fingerprint home lock, and a lot more. Visit our office at Senegambia Kololi Highway and get a free site visit tour, or contact us on 4464838. WhatsApp us on 3259220. Or you can visit our Facebook page or Instagram on EJ Investments. EJ Investments, we are first in properties.
When we touch down, better broke down.
Gamtel G-Fiber, now you can enjoy super fast internet in gigabytes. G-Fiber is affordable, stable, secured, and accessible to homes, businesses, and enterprises. With Gamtel G-Fiber, the future is speed. Gamtel, creating a brighter future in communication.
That's how she became mine and see the
All right.
Honey, did you remind him that the last time he sent the money, it was not enough to buy all the provisions?
Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell him.
Are you guys talking about money transfer to buy provisions?
Yes.
But don't you know about Baluwo?
Baluwo? What is Baluwo?
Baluwo is a service that your son can use to send provisions directly to you guys from the shop. And you don't have to worry about the exchange rate.
Tell me how Baluwo works.
It's very simple.
Just log on to baluwo.com and shop, or download the app on your phone. You can shop on the website or using the app to buy online basic products for your family and friends. With Baluwo, you decide what your money is spent on. Your money, your choice. Buy online products for your family and friends in the Gambia, Senegal, Nigeria or Mali. Baluwo, better than sending money.
Hello and welcome to the Brunch on Fatou Live. I'm Lavin Cham, presenting today, Saturday, the 14th of March 2021. This week, we will, of course, visit the much talked about resurrection efforts of the Gambia 2020 National Constitution. We will also discuss the IEC's recent statement that they are now going to stick, after all, with the marble against the ballot paper, which they were, an idea they were toying with over the last year or so. We will, if time allows, also say a little bit about happenings in neighboring Senegal, where, of course, we all know last week there were riots in the streets of various towns and cities over the arrest of opposition leader Ousmane Sonko. But first, we will start with Gambia for All. That is a political party set up, I think so, almost a year and a half or a year now, by the Honorable Bakary Dabo, Vice President and former Minister, as well as a High Commissioner to the Gambia, to Senegal for the Gambia in the 1980s. Mr. Dabo, of course, as you all know, was among prominent politicians who spent 20 years or so in exile during the regime of dictator Yahya Jammeh, and he returned home and was ready to participate in the politics of the country to sort of help guide the newfound democracy, or restore the democracy that the Gambia enjoyed, especially when he was vice president. He ended up forming his own political party, Gambia for All, and in the recent weeks or so, the party has been touring the country, engaging the citizenry. We will discuss with Mr. Dabo how has been the reception and how focused now and well placed is the Gambia for All party. Now, Mr. Dabo is not alone in the studio. With me in the studio is Honorable Sanna Jawara, the National Assembly member for Upper Fuladu West. He will also give us his perspectives about both the GFA and the other issues I'll talk about. Journalist Mustapha Dabo is with us. He follows Gambia's constitutional crisis from last year up to date and many other issues. He too will give us his perspective both on the GFA and the other issues we've talked about. But first though, we go to Mr. Dabo. Honorable BB Dabo, welcome back to the Brunch. I think this is only the second time we're having you.
It's my pleasure, always an honor, Cham, to be with you.
Good. In the recent weeks, like I said, your party have been embarking on a regional tour, massive regional tour, and from what we've got from the pictures, the reception was definitely really very, 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 very admirable. But first of all, tell us, since last year and now, how have the GFA been able to place or take its role in the current political transformation of the country?
Thank you very much, Lamin. First, a little detail I like to clarify. You talk about me founding my own party. It sounds a bit flattering.
Okay.
In fact, the GFA, the Gambia for All, came about slightly differently. It wasn't that I founded a party. It was a coming together of a number of like-minded Gambians who, after careful examination of the direction of public affairs in the country, came to the conclusion that it is highly desirable that we founded our own party to put ourselves in the best position to propagate the ideas that we hold strong to. So I only happen to be part of that core of Gambians, and we went through the process of creating the party, and at the Constitutive Congress, which took place back in October 2019, we had to elect the core leaders of the party, including the party Secretary General, and it fell to my luck and my honor that my comrades in the party thought of me And at the time I felt, yes, it was an honor for me to accept. So that's how I became Secretary General, but I didn't found the party. And it's not my party. It's the party to which I belong.
Is that the impression people get from
yes.
the Gambia Forum?
Yes,
Thank you.
that I owe it to truth, to state it, because I think it's quite important to emphasize.
Exactly.
That is a coming together of people who consciously brainstormed and who also happen to have a certain commonality of views.
Yes.
So, that's how it came about. Now, yes, I just returned from a fairly extensive tour of the country, the rural part of the country. Yes, the party, following the Constitutive Congress back to October 2019, I talked about. It took us time to get the formal registration with the IEC. But when that came through at the beginning of 2020, in fact, on the 2nd of January, we did a formal inauguration of the party in Brikama. It was in February 2020, I think on the 8th of February. And immediately after the launch of the party, one task we recognized as urgent and priority is to formally introduce the party around the country. It's both a matter of courtesy we think we owe our fellow Gambians, since a political party, in a sense, means coming together of Gambians who want to be recognized as stakeholders, and therefore they also in turn owe it to the populace that they should go and tell them, even on a score of courtesy, first. Yes, it might also, there might be a secondary objective of also winning members, but that's only secondary at this stage. Now that idea of going to inform the populace started almost immediately after the launch of the party last year. In February, we managed to cover the Combo St. Mary area and the old capital of Banjul area, but also the Combo end of they call it West Coast region. Yeah, and unfortunately we had to put a break to it when the COVID. Was confirmed as an issue here, and both as a in respect to what became public health guideline, but also our own conviction that this was necessary. So we put a hold to it. That has cost us a lot in terms of loss of valuable time to carry out that urgent task of carrying the the party to the people. And it is that suspended action that we resumed towards the end of January, which you referred to. It lasted some 5 weeks and took us to the rest of the country, outside of the 3 areas I talked about. We crossed from Barra and managed to get to the eastern end of the Gambia on the north bank before starting on the south bank and coming down all the way to the end of Fonyis and Combo. And this is necessary because if you feel you have a courtesy, a duty of courtesy you owe, then you cannot skip anybody. You have to go everywhere.
I was curious to know when I saw the people reception. I mean, there is this much misconception that there's a lot of generation gap between the times of Bakary, Dabo, and now. Yet we saw in the pictures that a lot of people seem to remember you, and I don't know how did they receive you.
Yes, that's a point I certainly like to confirm. I was myself very pleasantly not quite surprised, but I found it out, much to my pleasure, that there is a strong nostalgia about the order, the political order, and the governance practices that obtained in the country around the time that I was part of the government. Yes, there was a very strong view. As to the generational issue, really, I think some of you analysts and journalists, sometimes I feel you are way off the mark.
Okay.
I think,
yes.
I think
fair comment.
From my understanding of Gambian public, I think they want good leadership, good effective leadership, and they're not bothered about categorization, whether along tribal lines or age or generational growth. I think that's really an obsession with the urban-based journalists who make a big issue of that. No, I don't think that it has come up in few times, but I don't see it as a big issue. But you did say that you saw some pictures. Yes, as I said, the mission was basically to introduce the party as a matter of courtesy. So we really didn't go out looking for crowds. But yes, we were quite happy when on many points along the country, and the pleasant part of it is not just one area, it's all around. You do have occasions when people turned out. Sometimes under very striking circumstances. I was in Sami Pachonki.
Yeah.
I got there, it must have been around 11 o'clock at night, and I was surprised. They turned out of the crowd at that poorly lit, but a lot of crowd, but everybody, and people came, young and old, again to damn your theory about generational issues.
Yes.
So yes, that happened in many parts. I cannot say, we had that kind of thing more in Badibu than in Fuladu or more in Jawara. Almost everywhere you do come across many instances, and that's very pleasant to us, much more than what we look forward to initially. Yes, and I think from there it is reasonable to conclude that the Gambian people appear strongly disposed in a positive sense to the idea of our party. That is the reasonable conclusion I think one can draw from the response and the reactions we got from the populace as we went around.
Good. And in turn, you receive the people, you hear their message.
Yes.
Yes. How do you assess what the aspirations are? Whether actually, currently we are anywhere near giving them that.
Yes, that's true. There has to be some exchanges, and exchanges did occur. The normal run of our meetings start with me or somebody in the name of the party stating our purpose of coming around, and also the considerations that led us to the conclusion that we should found our own party, fully aware that there are many parties existing. So, but in response to that, yes, there have been a number of interesting reactions from people. Like I said, on one hand, there is the nostalgia which our very presence provoked in a lot of people. They remember that, particularly when they try to contrast what obtained that then to what obtained over the past 27 years. I found that a very interesting way the populace has been analyzing the situation. They have not been just talking about the current 5 years of the present government, nor are they focused only on the 22 years of overt dictatorship. They tend to look at the whole. They make a cut-off point in July 1994 and tend to make a contrast. And yes, the exchanges, what comes from them is generally very, very encouraging, almost flattering in sometimes. And also what comes across is, apart from the expression of hardship, which is so overwhelming everywhere you went, apart from that, there is an increasing awareness. One, that leadership is a critical factor in the kind of government, the kind of government the people have. And two, to my pleasure, I find a number of them also showing awareness that in the present dispensation, if you can call it, that they, the people, by having the vote, have a real play in bringing about the change in leadership. Yeah, before I used to get a bit frustrated when people in one breath talk about how much they suffer, but they don't seem to make the connection to the fact that it falls within their hands to do something about it. This has come across in many places, which is very, very, and of course I encourage that way of thinking, that the change is desirable, and that under the present dispensation, contrary to when the gun was behind the head back, this time that they can be actors and not simple spectators. So these are some of the striking things that I got in terms of the reactions from the people.
Okay. Mr. Dabo, now the Gambia for All is well placed now to take up its role in this political dispensation. Now, currently we are faced with a lot of issues in this country at the moment. And if it comes to expertise or, yes, professional, if we would call it professional upbringing in matters of governance, you really honestly can be counted as number one among all the players who really have seen the past and have a lot of experience in that now. And that brings us to the topic at hand now. The current constitutional crisis. I mean, we have now reached a point where it is becoming now crystal clear that we may not have any headway as far as the two approaches or the arguments we are hearing in terms of resurrecting the constitution all about. Let me start by asking you how and what is the position of Mr. Dabo or perhaps your party on the current matter of the constitution? What went wrong and how do you think we can fix it?
Yeah, I'll come to that, but if you allow me, I'll take just a minute to help encamping the record about what our party, Gambia for All, could be said to have achieved in terms of conquest of the terrain. No, as I said, the mission we just concluded is restricted to introducing the party. And for us, we didn't even think it would place us in a position to realistically gauge how much of the terrain we can say to conquer. Of course, what has come through, as I said, is very flattering to us. But we are fully also aware that we have got to go beyond that. We've got to work towards converting that positive disposition into actual adherence to the party. So I don't want some of your listeners who may be supporters of the Gambia for All to say, the job has been done. No, the job still has to be done.
Still have to work.
We are not going to fool ourselves. Now, Gambia for All and the draft produced by the Constitutional Review Commission. Now, we took off time when the draft was submitted to the government, and even before it went to Parliament. I think it was way back in July or so, we came out with a fairly terse statement giving our overall assessment of what was proposed by the CRC. And basically we said that accepting that constitutions cannot be perfect, but that what was proposed by the CRC, in contrast to what obtained, to what and still obtains, yes, we recognize that it represented significant improvement in critical areas. Firstly, democratic rights, taking into account the experience of the country over the past 20-something years. We are very keen to know, well, what are they proposing in terms of range of basic freedoms and rights of citizens, in contrast to what obtained before. And we were quite struck by the number of we actually quoted the statistics, number of rights included. Additionally, we looked at a critical area like separation of powers to see how much of a higher degree of balance is proposed between the key pillars of the state. There again, we saw a number of innovative ideas, and we thought that represents democratic gains for the country. And there were also other areas, and particularly the draft constitution did extensive proposals into institutional additions that will go to reinforce democracy, including, I think, even the public broadcaster, reinforcing really those institutions that support, that reinforce democratic practice. Yes. We thought those are all very positive. In terms of what could be negative, we saw very little. We didn't think it has gone far in enabling Gambians who happen to be the diaspora to play their full rights as citizens. For instance, I think it left the issue of some kind of residential qualification.
Yeah, some of the issues you yourself had to personally take into court.
Some residential qualifications we think were really not reasonable given the special circumstances of the Gambia, and increasingly also a number of developing countries. So those we raise, but they are not of a nature that we think would stop us from sleeping, as they say locally. We won't sleep or stop us. We did say we would have preferred that they went much further in removing those unnecessary obstacles placed in the way of Gambians on the mere grounds of them being away resident. I think that's
you successfully fought that in the Supreme Court.
Yeah, one aspect of it, yes. So that was the beginning of our position on the draft constitution. And naturally, when it moved to Parliament, we don't have a parliamentary representatives from our party, but we followed it with a lot of interest. And I see you have Honorable Jawara here. Some of them, from my following of the proceeding, I was then in UK, but some of them spoke out very strongly in support of what they feel about the draft constitution.
Let me be very specific as far as GFA is concerned. You were not somehow in the Abuja talks.
Personally, no.
Personally,
yeah, but our party was.
Your representative.
Our party was, yes.
Now, today,
yes,
there are only two things that are really exercising the minds of most people about this issue. One, there is an impasse, so to speak, between the retroactive application of the second term, the two term of the president, and the other side which said that actually if the draft is touched or altered in any way or form, they will not support it. There are smaller parties, we had them, they said they have sacrificed every misgivings they may have, they've not forgotten it. And if it is going to be the president's wish to have his 2 terms counted from now, then they don't mind. They don't mind. They can go along with those things. But the main opposition, well, I don't want to call it opposition, but the main political party opposed to the current regime now, the UDP, has said that, look, this whole thing was really thrown into the into the waters by the current regime on their sympathizers in the National Assembly. So the best way to do is let them go, take it back, and they take their positions as we have taken our positions when the draft was being presented to Parliament. So they said these two arguments are what is happening. Would the GFA be willing even to drop, or let's say, as they call it, sacrifice this retroactive thing about the second term just to allow it to go? Or would you still have thought that it is still important that the 2-term retroactive thing stays?
You see, I think the retroactivity as an issue has just become incidental. I think the fundamental thing is 2-term limit.
Yes.
That's the fundamental thing that we support.
Yes.
Both as a matter of personal conviction, but also we do get the sense from the consultations carried out by the CRC that is a position that many Gambians feel very strong, that leadership should change at
every 5 or 10 years,
at intervals or rhythms of no more than 10 years. That is very clear.
That's clear.
It is very clear. So for that reason, we as a party feel very happy that the Constitution did capture it. Now, it has come to our attention that in drafting it, and that could be an issue of drafting elegance, drafting a document in an elegant manner or in an inelegant manner, that there is somewhere under the transitional clauses where there appears to be specific and highly personalized mention of it. I think that if that is the case, and I believe that is the case, that could be done differently. But that's a drafting issue. It doesn't affect the fundamental point that the people want leadership change at intervals of no more than 10 years.
Yes.
And that's however way you cast it in the draft constitution. The Gambia for all things is right that it is there.
Yeah.
Now, we call the other issues that have also come up. But I do agree with you that it seems to have boiled down to the point that issue is the one that is sticking out.
Exactly.
Over which others don't want to maybe compromise. Now, our own view, as I said, is that if it can be solved by redrafting the relevant part, fine, as long as the principle is admitted.
Well, in the beginning, everybody agreed. Government and others that.
Now we have seen moved a little further to say, but if whichever way is turned around, there is a feeling that it will mean retroactively applying a new provision in the Constitution, which we do agree is not the most elegant way of drafting laws, but it doesn't affect the legality. Eventually, it can be legal, even if it's not the neatest way of doing things. But if some people feel so strong that they are prepared to block the passage of this thing, we say, all right, we can overlook it. We can overlook it. We still remain convinced, as a matter of principle, that it's highly desirable that whichever way the people draft the drafting, the Constitution should reflect the strongly held view of the people that no leader or leadership under any set of circumstances should be given even theoretical possibility of spending one day more than 10 years. I think that's very important.
That's very
that's our ideal.
Everybody agreed to that.
But
the problem is when will it start? Is what is putting everybody down.
Yeah, when will it start? Is when we realize what will we realize?
Everybody agreed that 2 terms should be there.
Yes, yeah.
Even the government made it clear that they are not opposed to that.
Yeah.
But the problem is, when will it start?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yes. When should it start?
If the issue of reference
yes.
to the present sitting president
yes.
is one that leads people to believe
yes.
that we are retroactively
yes.
applying the law or that we are personally targeting, then I think I thought maybe this is the work of draftspeople, legal drafts. If they go around, they should find a way of drafting that particular point in such a way that it doesn't appear to be overtly targeting a person. Yeah, but the principle, I think, should be reflected in whatever form it should be. That's our view. But at the same time, getting a new constitution in place is so important that we've come to the view that if it's going to prove this kind of a stumbling block to the process moving forward, we are prepared against our wish, in protest as it were, to say, okay, let it stand. Now, this is so because really in the actual process of moving forward the reform, it has to go through Parliament.
Yes.
And this is where the issue of the party system has come to bother, to bog down the progress, because although there are 50-something or more so Parliament, they're grouped in blocks.
Yes.
And those blocks are controlled by a few people.
Yes.
So that is the difficulty. Is when one or more of those people controlling the blocks
yes.
Manage to get their blocks to particularly the fact that the particular legislation calls for 75 Which is very high.
Yeah.
So that is the sad part. It's just being sometimes, in a way, realistic to accept what is not the neatest, but to prepare to go along with it. That is our position. But of course, if it's just simply arguing on the principle, it's 100% preferable to us that we reflect the strongly held view of no one day more than 10 years for any leader. The rest now is for legal draftsmen to legal. It's not like your tailor going to a tailor. You can do your clothing in many different ways. This is the position of the Gambia for all.
Okay.
It's unfortunate, but it seems from latest reports that we still have some way to go to get agreement which will enable or give the bill a chance when it goes back to Parliament to pass. And unfortunately, the process requires that it has to go through this parliamentary. You cannot avoid it.
Cannot avoid that. Good. Now let's go to briefly, Mr. Dabo will still keep you on this matter. Very quickly, we cross over to the people in the eye of the storm. That is the United Democratic Party and the others. Honorable Sanna Jawara, let me put it straight to the point. Critics of your party are now saying that you and your party, your party is now the only stumbling block for Gambians to get this constitution. Of course, the background has been that it was the government and their sympathizers in the National Assembly who, in the first place, threw the document and even celebrated its defeat in the Assembly. So people are wondering, what new interests have they found in so much so that they would go to all lengths now to have it reintroduced into Parliament, of course with amendments that they think suits them. So, given these two backgrounds, why would you think the UDP will be singled out now for being the one who holds the key, as the other opposition, as the other parties would say, well, it's only one party in the country now who is holding everybody at ransom, and the UDP. How do you react to that? Hypocritical, or what do you think it was?
Thank you, Mr. Lamin. I would say, it's a shame that anybody, of conscience will draw that conclusion. The Gambia, as we know, its history, as we all know, we are where we are for reasons. There is this situation for reasons, and there is a draft constitution for reasons. And we cannot change history just because it fits or suits us. History is there for anybody to know, go back to and look. And regardless how you want to know or change the narrative, some facts are just facts.
Okay.
Constitutions are not mere laws, and I've kept saying this time and time again. Constitutions are made around people. It's people-centered. And whatever their views or aspirations are, as the Honorable former Vice President Mr. Dabo said, can be legal, even in as much as odd as it is. We can go away with this retrospective clause, and it will still stand. That in section 102 of the draft, subsection 2, says clearly they don't want any more Gambian after Yaya Jammeh to serve more than 2 terms.
So even the section alone makes it
even
clear.
If it's omitted. No Gambian should serve more than 2 5-year terms, period. And we have to ask ourselves this fundamental question. Is it unfortunate that after 2016, all Gambians of all sects, of all walks of life, putting all their differences aside, came together and bring usher in a government. That same government now turned against the same Gambian people and denied them that right. 87% of Gambians all said they want this retroactive clause in because that's their desire, that's their view. That's how they feel secure that there will be no self-perpetuation. Now, the gentleman that put forward as the bait to remove Yahya Jammeh from here is the same gentleman now who turned to be the oppressor.
Interesting.
Of that wish.
So basically, you are saying that even before we go any further, it is 85%. It is the wish of 85% of the Gambian people that look, whoever succeeds Jammeh should morally and legally stop not more than 10 years after his simple.
When we are actually putting together this draft constitution, it took years and months and years.
Yes.
We have many people have sacrificed here.
Yes.
Let me just remind ourselves.
Yes.
That in 2016, a coalition of parties came together. They said the disregard of constitutional provisions aimed at protection of citizenry and lack of financial discipline in the state administration has transformed Gambia under the APRC into a heavily indebted poor country, which is now increasingly isolated because of governance practices that are in contravention to good governance, rule of law, democracy, human rights, and substantive justice. In this regard, I have offered myself as an independent candidate who will serve for only 3 years at the head of a broad-based and inclusive coalition government aimed at conducting constitutional, institutional, and administrative reforms that would establish a foundation, blah, 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 blah. In conclusion, the same manifesto went further to say, we have agreed to put all differences aside, to put a transitional government in place that would initiate constitutional, electoral, institutional, administrative, and managerial reforms that would make justice guide our actions towards the common good and further unify the diverse people to create a democratic system which enables each party to have equal access to the media and signal the mandate of the people in a free, fair, and genuine election after 3 years transition. Now, this same government is the one now that is denying 87% of the population this right to have a better future. And you want my party to stand there and say, we are not going to defend that.
I see. So it's beyond this.
And let me also come this way. In the whole building of this draft constitution, we have looked at some examples from different countries. Some countries no citizen can serve more than 7 years.
Yes. Yes.
In some countries, no citizen can serve more than 10 years, 2 5-year terms.
Exactly.
Either consecutively or in separate terms. But the most you can do is 10 years, and you have to give chance to other citizens.
And even if you had 5 years and there's a period of 20 years, you cannot cook it off.
Yes. Okay. So we looked at all different samples, and we looked at our context. And out of this, the Gambia, as a supreme law, we came together with these aspirations and views. Now, we have all seen here how my party have appealed not only to its members, but across the aisle.
Political divide, yes.
To make sure that we give Gambians the opportunity to decide in this and the referendum. We have seen here Mama Kande, GDC, lost 2 of his MPs because they were bought and gone to the other side. We have seen here Honorable Maifati made an emotional appeal to the Gambians to vote in favor of this constitution. We have seen my party leader, Dabo, make a personal plea. We have seen the likes of the EU, all the development partners. We have seen Bata Medu
and all their
resigned from this job because of this draft constitution. He's not telling anybody why, but we know.
Okay.
Gambians have sacrificed for this transitional justice process. But because of one man's interest against the nation, we want to stand here and change positions. No, that is something I'd rather not be in politics for.
So it's not like simple case of the UDP believing that
UDP has never shifted position. We have never changed from day one.
That you can be said, yes.
We maintain the same, and we do not even say this cannot be done. All we are saying is if you change any word in this document,
yes,
it doesn't become the CRC presented.
It no longer reflects the people.
No, it's not a constitution anymore. It's a government bill.
A government bill.
Because you are bringing something different from what the people CRC presented.
I see.
And CRC is the only mandated legal entity that was given the right by an act of parliament to go and come and bring this to the parliament.
So at the beginning of the crisis, the government, even before the thing was presented to assembly, they made their position paper, and they were critical, or they are very much opposed to this clause as to when the two-term will begin. They said that's discriminatory to the sitting president.
Let me say this.
So and that is what their sympathizers in the assembly took and made it a slogan.
What UDP should have done is not participate in these negotiations. But that would be suicide. Because people will jump to the conclusion, like what Doi did.
Yeah,
they will not see Doi.
Yeah.
What they will see is UDP is the one who does not even want to entertain these discussions.
Okay.
But we thought out of protocol for foreign relations, international patterns,
so
for people know who we will need. And if they call, go and answer to hear what they have.
That's why you are.
So we went
to Abuja, another place.
We went, but in spirit, we don't even have to negotiate these things. Now, what we could negotiate is, do we have the political will to compromise when this thing comes back to Parliament?
Okay.
And if it does, then our members will support this bill.
Okay.
We don't want anything changed about it.
So can you enlighten us now? Now, suppose it comes back without amendment, like the government dropped this idea of amendments. It comes as it is now. Would it be allowed to go to the next stage where discussions?
This is why this interparty, consultation or negotiations is all about. So that when it comes back to Parliament and we get to that stage, will we agree on this and this and that changes?
I see.
Because only us have the mandate to touch and change anything about it.
But the problem now is if it comes, the government is determined to alter it before it comes back. And people such as your party have said, if anything is altered, it will not be entertained.
Let me put it this way.
So how do we get to this place where you, the National Assembly members, will now have an opportunity to debate as to what to take away and what not? I mean, we could not reach that place last year because it was thrown from the first gallop.
Let me put it this way. The National Assembly could have reviewed this 1997 Constitution and amended it.
Yes.
And whatever clauses that are entrenched can go through a referendum.
Would have been simpler.
Yeah. But we thought, no. This is so doctrine that we need a fresh start. Something that is going to be here for posterity.
I see.
So we gave a set of esteemed legal practitioners who know better this kind of stuff than National Assembly members.
I see.
People know who, we all know their experiences.
Yes.
We all know their qualities. They together brought this after a wide consultation.
Yes.
With Gambians across the globe. And like the Honorable Dabo is saying, this is not a perfect document because they know they cannot make a perfect
Everybody
document.
knows that.
There are issues in there that doesn't.
So where the president sympathizers believe.
So let's say now we have one problem,
and
that is the servant in chief saying that this affects him.
Okay.
What about let's say the Christians come and say this also affects them.
Yeah, because they wanted that.
So why should we choose his problem and serve that, but leave the others?
I see.
What about the lesbians? What about all these other people? What about doctors?
Yes.
We are giving the judiciary or the judges a retirement package just as good as their own salary, benefits and salaries and put together.
Yeah.
Why not the doctors?
Is it not already
so
trouble?
What I'm saying is, there are so many issues about this document that makes it an imperfect document.
Yes, but
if you want to go into the nitty-gritty of that, it's not at that consultation by the parties. It's at the plenary.
And yet it did not. Nobody is sure how it would reach the plenary.
There are three ways to do it. There are three ways where how this can come back to Parliament.
Yes.
The problem is
you and your party insist it has to come like this.
No. The problem is it's one person. Adama Barrow is the one insisted that something has to be changed about it.
I see. Oh, I see.
Nobody is denying
Nobody is denying to come.
So that's why when I hear this argument that UDP is the problem,
yes,
I'm confused.
Yes, it's really confusing because in the past it was the government that was blamed for not allowing it to progress from anywhere.
It is very depressing for me.
So what do you think?
It is very depressing for me.
Without trying to be political, what new, okay, maybe we bring in Mustapha here. What new interest has the government discovered now that is so much interesting and maybe useful to them, so much as going to every length now to have this brought back with that change out? What's the new interest?
There are a number of issues that are important. One is that the partners knew how important this constitution is to the Gambia's transition.
Our international and
our international partners, but also everybody conscious of our transition, conscious of what is happening at the CRC, conscious of the recognition, some of the laws, especially in relation to torture and other degrading treatments in this new draft, definitely knew that this, by the time TRRC finishes, we need to have a new legal regime in this country. This is very fundamental. Everything on our transition, and this Abubakar Tambedu has said several times, the entire Gambian transition to democracy hinges on this new constitution. Abubakar Tambedu said it, and even our partners knew it. That is why EU ambassador, the American ambassador, and several reps went to see the president. They knew how critical this is for Gambia's transition and Gambia's development. So that is one important thing, and the president is now under pressure. And for me, I think he's trying to save face. So to turn the table and blame someone else for his failure. So you bring back the draft, you bring us a proposal people won't accept, and then you say, well, they don't accept. So what am I going to do?
I forgot that it was you and your sympathizers back in
September
the table on people who were supposedly jubilating.
I think that's the issue, and I don't think necessarily the draft is against the interest. I don't understand people say the president is for his own personal interest. Absorbing too much power is in no one's interest. It just ruins you, as in Jammeh. You've seen it, having in possession of...
Let me ask this question, because people who are saying, no, now, this thing is beyond this constitution or all the niceties that are there. This thing is like the politicians, the UDP, believe now that if we go by the 1997 constitution, which allows simple majority, they have the best numbers now, they have the largest numbers, so this suits them. In the beginning, Barrow did not realize that two-thirds majority may even be against him. Now he realized that, well, in fact, two-thirds majority will be in his favor, perhaps, because if he should come first or second, the smaller party will back him.
That could
so
be. That
maybe
could be
they say this is now the key to the two scenarios. So nobody is interested in this or this. What they are interested in is where does my party has the largest chance under which constitution, this or this?
Well, that for me, as far as I'm concerned, that does not make sense.
Honorable Jawara, no,
because the figures.
Honorable Jawara, let me ask you this: the set of the UDP realizes that they have better chance with a simple majority than absolute majority in the new constitution. So now, whatever happens now, the reason under the carpet is let's go by the 97 constitution because that gives us a chance to win by simple majority.
Mr. Chairman,
is that not the issue now, and not necessarily this retroactive, etc.?
Mr. Chairman, if that was the case, we would not be entertaining these discussions at all.
In the first place, you wouldn't have taken the position your party took.
We know what is in the 1997 constitution. We know what is in the draft now before we even supported the draft.
Okay.
If there's any political party in this Gambia today, we can successfully achieve 50% plus one here is UDP.
So you are not
whether we would be able to do that, achieve that or not, it's a different matter.
I see.
But what it is obvious is, regardless of which one the Gambians prefer, we are behind the Gambians.
Only the methods.
Because let me tell you about something. This constitution is now brought to a point whereby it's between political parties and personalities, Dabo and it's unfortunate. Gambians need to understand that constitution is about them, not about Dabo or Barrow. They are the dignified. From them we take our powers. So what they want is final.
And probably it would help a lot if media also helps to direct the conversation in a way that takes us to a solution. For example, what is retroactivity?
That is, of course, to apply a law to cover what has happened or what is happening.
Yes, but the problem with that opinion, that legal analysis as it applies to the draft, is that, you see, when Barrow was swearing in commissioners, you know, laws are made to cater for circumstances, both which changing circumstances, right? Now, when we had a change of regime, there was a certain political climate, and we were trying to, there were a lot of needs, both human rights violations, past human rights violations. We were also trying to cater or prevent occurrences of those violations. And we said, look, we need a different legal regime, a legal regime that is going to help us avoid this kind of, address past and avoid this kind of a situation in the future. And here is what Barrow said when he was swearing in the CRC commissioners. He was in no doubt. He told them, as a citizen, I'm reading what he says.
Yes.
As a citizen, I hold the view, as some other Gambians do, that a 2-term limit for all heads of states of the Republic should be entrenched in the new constitution. Now, but this is not just the Gambian people. Remember, Afrobarometer went around in 2018 and 86. But we're trying to present the facts as they are, so that the people understand they're not lost in the sensational details of things. Now, this is what the president said. Now, Afrobarometer went around. It's a Pan-African survey, and they asked the Gambian people, and of course Mr. Dabo was was alluding to the fact that he's also had a discussion with Gambians, and they are in no doubt what they want. So the 86% of those who answered their questions actually said that they want a term limit. Right. Now, what is it? When that term limit should begin?
That's the very
is
problem.
That's the
bone
that
of contention.
That is not a problem, because we have to keep our leaders honest. Now, if you tell me that the issue of my first 5-year counting is retroactivity, is discriminatory, how about you imposing a law on other people that you are avoiding yourself? How about Barrow telling future leaders of this country that you will be confined to 10 years, but I'm not a mere mortal, so because I'm not bound by that law? That's not discriminatory.
Okay.
So you see the problem. Yeah. Now, if you look at all those issues and you look at the issues we are confronted with, which is what is happening in this region, a Barrow is not different from Alpha Conde of Guinea Conakry. What Alpha Conde did is what Barrow is doing. When Barrow went to seek out a mandate from the Gambian people, remember, the constitution is the document of the sovereign Gambian people, right? It's not a Dabo document. A Dabo document is not a Barrow document, is not anyone's document, it's the Gambian people's document, determining how they should be governed, how their resources are going to be used, how their lives are to be protected, and things like that. Now, when you go to those same people and you seek a mandate and then come and renege on that mandate, that person is very dangerous. That person is like Alpha Conde. That person will change. If you give Barrow,
people will say you have even gone very far. Somebody who said I'll go after 3 years. I mean, that did not happen.
But you know, for 3 years, a lot of us.
How much more would you take his word?
But you know, for 3 years, a lot of Gambians said, well, there were a lot of things that were not considered.
No, I mean,
probably a lot of Gambians wanted to give him a pass to say, look, we think that you can serve for 5 years and you can seek a re-election again. A lot of Gambians wanted to give him a. I don't think most. I mean, if you ask me anyway, personally, that's not very significant to me. But 15 years, that's significant. And if you give that person that 15 years, if he gets to 15 years, he's going to seek the constitutional amendment to stay again. Yeah.
Good. That's where the problem is. Now let's cross over to Mr. Dabo. You've been really, I'm sure you've been observing Honorable Sanna Jawara's position and his party, UDP, and Mustapha Dabo's independent analysis. Even though I know you will find it difficult to draw the GAFA to any particular position on this matter, but it doesn't change the fact that what we have in our hands is that here is an executive which promised to deliver a constitution where the president would not serve more than 2 terms. And now we have a problem, the fact that he's saying that 2 terms should not count now. Morally, who should free people from this embroglio? The president? Or anybody else? What do you think?
No, I do not understand the president to be saying that he doesn't hold to the 2-term
No, the president is not opposed to 2 terms.
Yeah.
What he's opposed to, according to the position paper that they presented to the CRC, is that to say that the term should start, it should count the day the constitution comes into power. In this case, this 2021 is discriminatory.
I got that point.
Sure.
But in your introductory remarks,
yes,
you talked about a president who took a pledge,
yes,
to stand by 2 terms, and now is saying something different.
Yes.
And I'm saying, matter of record, that I do not understand the president to be saying something different on the issue of 2 terms. I don't think he's saying that, because you went on to further to explain that the issue is over the idea of the effective cutting point. So it's just a matter of record that I do not really subscribe to the view that the president has changed his standpoint in terms of what his utterances. He has changed his position on the desirability of 2-term limit. But two points, and I found this exchange is very interesting, and thank you for being in the company of these eminent Gambians. One is my sadness that the level of discourse and debate is often lowered to the point of pinning it down to personalities or to rather what I would call base political calculations as to. I think this is a very important issue. Gambians should really debate around it. And not, when I say Gambians, not just political leaders, everybody, particularly you in the media, should really try to direct and focus attention on the issues of principle here, and not considerations of whether Mr. Barrow or somebody thinks his own personal political fortunes. I hope that is not the case, because if that's the case, I will be the most disappointed. I expected, I judge these people by the standards of eminent statesmen, not petty politicians who are prepared to cut corners here and there. So I do hope that the debates everywhere, people should focus on the principles. And the 2 issues of principle that seem to stick out here is, on one hand, the principle of the desirability, almost the sanctity of the principle that nobody, no leader, under any arrangement, by any guise, should stay more than 2 terms. That's one fundamental. On the other side is the argument, or the principle is being argued, that yes, no law should, in its application, appear to affect somebody in a retroactive sense. So it's a question of saying, do we see any sense in those principles? If we do, then we have to make a choice. You may find a situation when you may have to settle for one which is not totally perfect, but has advantage. And I did say that our own standpoint is that if applying the 2-term principle or the 10-year principle means in our particular case context now that it may appear to apply the law retroactively, I think that's one sacrifice that as a matter of principle we can make, really, because it's that doesn't affect the fundamental legality of what would be put in place. It's just that some jurists will say, but it's a law which, in terms of its practical effect, is being applied retroactively. It's not the neatest, but it doesn't affect the legality. I would consider that's my value of scale of values, and I did only come around to say, well, look, if there is no way we can get a consensus over this particular way of looking at it, untidy as it is, we are prepared. We are prepared to go along and have it there. Hopefully, a new government can rectify it. But anyway, my fundamental point is I think the debate is being lowered to a very undesirable level of really bringing it out to petty political calculation. It's very important. It's very important, and any political leader, any political party who proceeds by that will really not earn my respect and my esteem.
And I think fundamentally also,
go ahead.
It's also about bringing it to Barrow Dabo. It's a manufactured crisis. A manufactured crisis by the media. There is no Barrow Dabo here. There is we appointed a bunch of legal-minded people to create a constitution. The Gambian people did that. They are ready, and they came with the product and gave it to the Gambian people. And they gave it to them through their president and their justice minister, so to speak. And then the justice minister took it to the National Assembly, which is the people's representative. They decided to reject it in personal, individual accountability. Let's not forget that.
Listen.
But then
the media, before it got to that point, the media had no business in influencing. In influencing by saying it's a Dabo or Barrow district. But when it got to Parliament, we saw that when it got to Parliament, we saw that all the issues have been put in the back burner, and what actually stood was Dabo saying, let's vote for the Constitution as it is, and Barrow sympathizers saying no.
The reason why I said it's the media, because it's Mr. Dabo said voted for the Constitution. My party said voted for the Constitution.
Yes.
Mama Kanda said voted for the Constitution.
Lawyer Dabo said voted for the Constitution.
Yes. So how is it?
But what did it happen? Did the power play did not?
The Barrow and Dabo, it's a manufactured.
No, let's listen. But where did it end up in Parliament? Wasn't it a power play between sympathizers of Barrow and Dabo in Parliament?
But if you look at the electoral or the voting statistics in this country,
can I come in, please?
The ground is still level for still Barrow and UDP to even lose elections in this country.
Can I come in, please?
Remember the presidential election. The amount of people who voted is 58%.
That's what I'm saying. Yet they control.
Mustapha, can I come in?
They control the people. They control the people who is supposed to work on this.
Okay, Mustapha, can I come in?
Yes.
Mr. Cham, I think the media has a very important role to play in this.
Yes.
And I think the media is a lot of time misleading the Gambians because of the way you say things or the way you perceive things. The 31 MPs voted in favor of this draft constitution.
Yes.
And they are not all UDP.
That's true, yes.
So how can it be a UDP problem?
No, at a time. Okay.
I'm coming. I'm just coming. I'm just trying to make a point.
Go ahead, yes.
This is not a UDP Barrow problem.
Go ahead.
And please, the media should know
21. Okay, you said 21
and make sure
against.
That people don't see it that way.
Yeah. How many voted against?
The point is this particular provision under the term of office of the incumbent is saying that even if, let's say, this 2021 December, Dabo should win the election and become the president and retable or reintroduce this bill, this constitution to pass, that term that Dabo is serving is going to be considered as one of his 4 terms. It's not about Adama Barrow. It's about the incumbent who is serving a 5-year term.
Yeah.
That time, when this thing comes into effect, that term will be considered as part of your 1 term.
It just so happens that it's Adama Barrow who is
linking to Section 102, Section 2 of the draft constitution.
So it just so happened that
no other Gambian shall ever again serve more than 10 years.
It just so happened that it's Adama Barrow who's in power today.
Let Adama Barrow reject this draft constitution. Let's pray that we come into government next year, the end of this year. We will retable this and we will leave it as it is. And Dabo, whoever our presidential candidate is, when that term that he's serving will be considered as one term.
And to say also, I mean, Sanna, if you look,
he will not say that I won under the 1997 constitution, so therefore this doesn't come to play. No, he will not say that. He will understand that this is the aspiration of the Gambians, that he should not serve more than 10 years maximum.
And if you look at the statistics, but if you look at the statistics, the idea that somehow Barrow will win, Barrow thinks he will win with absolute majority, and Dabo will win with simple majority. It's based on what?
Nothing.
What does the media base that on?
No,
because as far as we know, one of the most popular election outcomes in this country.
But listen carefully, that's not the media spread. But try to talk to people, maybe people like Sanna and others who knows the issues, knows these things and what it takes and all the nitty-gritty is there. But just simply go to a UDP supporter, or an NPP supporter. Try to gauge what is their understanding of the constitution. They are not bothered with all this. What they tell you behind is, look, you know what? What is interest in our party is, if we go by simple majority, we'll beat this.
No. Then if you do that, you can go to GFA.
Now listen.
You can go to GFA.
That is why I said.
Quote somebody from GFA.
You know how many times have I said?
Listen.
How many times have I said?
We have a spokesperson.
How many times have I said in this? How many times have I said in this forum? I have said it many times in this forum that the whole Gambian political debacle centers now around only NPP, UDP. People have forgotten. No, listen,
Mr. Cham, I disagree.
I disagree. No, I mean, you know why? People have forgotten that there are people who are doing. They have never been part of UDP or NPP.
But even though he's talking about the constitution, it's just the media focusing on the sensational details.
There are people of APRs.
Yes.
Or GDC. They were never bothered with.
But they are also talking about the constitution.
Now everything even your own analysis. You, Mustapha, had run independent analysis.
Yes.
Yet you are called a UDP journalist.
No, but let me give you
the perception of
let me give you the
today, if you do an analysis that is quite independent and professional, but my party NPP is not positively covered there, this one is a UDP.
But Cham,
that's the trouble we have. You find people, you find sources.
Now, if you look at the election facts, if someone comes to you with an opinion, that this is about NPP, this is about UDP, tell them what the statistics of the past elections are.
That's what I'm saying.
No, but as far as our last election is, only just about 56 people voted. Now, where do you get this?
56%?
Yes, 56% of the people voted. That means close to half of the population didn't vote.
Yes.
Those people who do not vote, who do they support?
Right.
Now you're going to add the diaspora.
But that's what I'm saying. So the election, the political field, it's still very open. UDP has an advantage because they have electoral representatives in the council. NPP is in government. True, and that is integral part of making an analysis when you're talking about power play here.
Yes.
But the field is still very much open for any other party to excel. This is the point. Now, if the media does not present these facts to the people, but some person comes from some bureau and comes and say, well, this is what we said, this is what the facts are, we are going to win. Tell the person what is that based on.
Well, listen carefully. Dabo had said they will win by 53%.
That's a political
opinion.
You should say that.
I'm saying that they will win by 53%.
Yes.
Other people in other parties have said, no, it's incalculably impossible, etc. What I'm trying to say is that people have reduced the last 4 years. They have forgotten that it is not only the UDP or the coalition people who actually were people who participated in Gambian elections. Though, who is no longer there, or GDC and all other things, have all participated in the Gambian election, and they should be counted. But today in this country, you like it or not, whatever perspective you have, you dealt with, you are coming across with a response from who, depending on who. But most prominently, these two political ideological groups will be the people who will analyze exactly, trying to know what your thinking is. They forgot the bigger picture. That's our problem in this country.
You see,
Honorable.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, just that when you do your survey of the political blocks,
yes,
I'm struck by the fact that you don't make mention of the APRC, which is not only a block of its own, but they also have debated against adopting it, and maybe for a different set of reasons.
Yes.
So I think it's important to bear that point also in mind.
Yes.
But also, again, coming back to my point, that I think we all will gain by focusing the debate on the merits or demerits of the draft proposals, and really leave out
and not what Mr. Barrow or Mr. Dabo wants.
My point.
Then the other point, while I'm still on the floor, which I wanted to say is, in an earlier intervention, I think you mentioned the significance of the political agreement back in 2016, which seems to not hold in so far as the three-year thing was called. Yes, I also have a view about that. And I think it's quite unfortunate that things have taken the turn they have. But I blame not just the person of Mr. Barrow, but the entire coalition team, because they are the ones who cobbled together that political agreement. And political agreement, everybody knows, they are not legal agreement, but they are important documents.
Absolutely.
Particularly, they are used as the platform on which the mandate is sought from the people.
Exactly.
So I think in that regard, the coalition parties owe it not only just to themselves, but particularly to the Gambian population, the Gambian electorate, who they sold this idea of a political agreement in terms of what it provided for. 3-year term limit. Also the ineligibility of whoever succeeds. These are very fundamental political agreements. And if we are going to have stability, political actors must respect such agreements. And if they don't, the political, because this is a covenant not only within the coalition parties, but also between them and the people. So we hold them, each of them, really responsible.
Together we hold them.
Oh yes.
And them among themselves, they hold one part.
Yeah, that's
no.
That's
a problem.
That's another dimension. But we as a whole, as a populace, we the people, really can hold them.
Yes.
For really not
collectively for failing us.
Not delivering it. Yes. Exactly. Not delivering that. And when they started appearing as if it wouldn't be respected in terms of the 3-year transitional program, as well as the fact that the incumbent will not be eligible. We're hearing no voice from the individual coalition members or collectively. I think they owe it to the Gambian people.
That's very important point. What is the problem now here is that if you talk to the coalition people themselves, instead of them collectively coming to address the people as to what their failures were, they will say, well, it was Mr. Dabo who spoiled it.
No, but
we had said, but if you look at so now,
we the Gambian people.
Does Mr. Barrow, as the president, has any right or any legitimacy morally to say, I would not respect this because Mr. Dabo is the first one who said I shouldn't go for 3 years. So you see this kind of...
That cannot be an excuse.
You see this?
That cannot be an excuse.
And what are the other coalition members now? What are the other coalition members doing about that?
No, I'm saying...
So this is the problem.
I dislike going to
personal... You see how things are there?
I dislike going to personal levels.
I know.
But I know that it cannot be excuse for you to say, because somebody, whether it's called Mr. Dabo, so did say this That I've been what is wrong. What is wrong cannot be right.
Yeah. That's what I was talking about, individual responsibility.
Yeah. You see, we have to be very careful here. You know, consistency is important.
Yes.
In anything. And I think the point that Mr. Dabo has raised here is very important. And you have to hold everybody accountable, anybody accountable to their words. Otherwise, there's no meaning of it.
Exactly.
There's no meaning to it.
Exactly.
What were the circumstances? What led to what? Anybody, all the coalition members, and Mama Kande was saying this long time ago, that the coalition partners owe it to the Gambian people. You know, to come out and explain to us what their position is.
Yes.
I think that prompted UDP to make Ousainou Darboe. I don't know what term to use because I don't want to sound patronizing.
So tell him that
to swallow his pride and come back again and tell the Gambian people that we will stick with a coalition agreement, even though I say this. If he's going to take the blame for it, let him take the blame for it. But Al-Mamitali is not going to do it. Nobody's going to do it. Let him go back and take those words back because it's not the party's position.
So now, how do you?
No, I'm not trying to blame
you reply now?
What I'm saying is,
I'm saying this happened, okay? How do you now take from people who want to take that? We said
let me come.
As the excuse now.
But you see, what Ousainou said is now an established fact. It was a mess.
Listen, before Ousainou Darboe did that.
How could you then?
Now the question now is where do we go from here? That one is an established
fact. Must we use that Ousainu's mistake or flip-flopping to say now the whole entire thing should not
No. Barrow must be held responsible.
That's not the problem. Can I complete? I did answer that point.
Yes.
That the fact that
cannot be an excuse.
You can't say that cannot be an excuse.
Listen, let me complete. You can blame Mr. Dabo all you like.
Yes.
You can blame Khalifa Saleh all you like. Yes. You can blame my party all you like. For abandoning the coalition. On whatever
Yeah.
But who is the one elected here? Whose manifesto are we being governed by?
Exactly.
If Mr. Dabo asked me to plunge myself into the river, will I do that?
No.
Did Mr. Dabo advise Barrow to form NPP?
No, he did not.
So Barrow is doing what he likes doing, and want to blame people for whatever.
And then
one thing is for real here in the Gambia. We cannot forget the recent past. Gambians are have reduced themselves to become pawns in this whole political quagmire that we are in.
And when we should have enlightenment by now.
And it's psychological.
Yes.
Many Gambians are not matured enough today or courageous enough today to stand up and say truth when they say the truth. Me personally, I will not speak in front of this gentleman here. Personally, if we were like alone, I will not talk because of the history and how much I respect him. But we are talking about politics and our future. I see nobody. I don't see Ousainou Darboe. I don't see Bakary Dabo. I don't see Adama Barrow. I see Gambia and its future.
And your convictions.
And my convictions. That's why I speak in this manner.
Exactly.
The fact of the matter is, Gambians should reclaim their dignity.
Yes.
If they fail to do that, they have nobody to blame but themselves.
If we,
Adama Barrow understands that we are just departed now from a Yaya Jammeh regime. We Gambians are reduced to bind their votes and perpetually, dictate the circumstances. And therefore, he believes he can still maintain that same system. That's why he discarded everybody that means well, and brought in people who will help him sustain that. And now we are heading towards an election. He is now being very quiet about all this draft constitution. It's ourselves now blaming each other, which is very unfortunate.
I see.
How can you forget the culprit here and start to blame Darboe and his UDP, or blame Khalifa Saleh and his DOI, or Bakary Dabo for taking that position? Who brought us into this mess? Who did we vote for? Did we vote for Darboe in the elections? Darboe was in prison when Adam Barrow was elected against Yaya Jammeh and Mama Kande. So what say Darboe have? Well, that's why Khalifa Saleh said, frankly, Darboe, we all know where Darboe was when these things were done. How can you come and blame him for being the spoiler of our agreement?
Yet elements of Doe recently
That
blamed
is,
Dabo.
when you're going to quote GFA, quote somebody from GFA with a position.
Not the
when
party.
you're going to quote UDP, quote somebody who speaks on behalf of UDP. If you go to Basse and start talking to one of Bansang and start talking to somebody that supports my cause, and quote him as UDP, you are not being fair
you
to
see,
UDP.
That is why
Okay,
I
you
was,
see, Mr. Dabo, I'm coming to you. Some people like you made an independent analysis. Said, okay, see the lack of trust. Don't call it hatred. I refuse always to say that. Among the coalition members themselves, have blinded them to the fact that the general picture is that all of us are collectively responsible for the failures.
Yeah.
But just because I don't agree with Mr. Dabo of the UDP, all right? But if the alternative is Barrow, even though I don't agree with Barrow entrenching him to power, but if the alternative is Dabo, I would rather oversight that and go with Barrow. So you look at the problem. I'll go with the lesser evil.
Can I say this last thing?
Okay, you see that personal, I don't call it hatred, but distrust among the coalition themselves. It made it possible for Mr. Barrow to get away with everything because there's nobody from among his own people who are united and courageous to put a strain on him and say, look, it is all of us together.
I think
so that don't you think, Sanna, have become part of the problem?
I think what we need to do in this country, I don't think we are necessarily ignorant. I think that what we need to do is a cultural revolution, like a cultural revolution in the area of governance, in the area of all walks of life, and that we begin to hold people personally accountable for their actions. Right? If Mr. Dabo does something wrong, it's Mr. Dabo's issue, and be true to yourself. Your conscience will not lie to you. If it's true, your conscience speaks to it, tells you this is right. Now, what we know, if someone comes and says this is a UDP problem, every fact available in the public space says that is a lie. It's a lie. I don't, personally as a journalist, I don't write a lie. It doesn't matter who it comes from. If it comes from you and it's a lie and every available fact says it's a lie, even if I would write your opinion, under your opinion, I would write, well, this is what the fact says. Yes. If someone says it's raining outside, it's not raining outside, you confirm it's not raining outside, you can't write that. Not every opinion, as ridiculous as it is, you should write. Now, let's look at what the available facts were on the assembly floor. The only political party leader that did not support the draft is President Adama Barrow. That is a fact under the sun.
What about APRC?
Well, Adama Barrow said...
And the APRC.
And NRP.
And NRP.
And PPP.
Yeah.
All right, now
PPP.
Yeah, but these were the same clique. Now, if we had wanted to move on, let me just explain this.
Mr. Barrow said, listen, Mr. Barrow said, I have no National Assembly member in the party. Listen. Now I'm trying to take you what
you see, that's the problem I'm talking about.
No, that's what I'm
That
saying.
is Barrow's opinion, but you and I know that's not true.
He has government sympathizers.
But that's what I am telling you.
So that's what I'm saying.
So as a journalist, if you write that is not true.
No,
and you know it's really not true. Now,
you have an obligation.
To move forward.
Now listen.
We have a question of retroactivity. There are two questions here. We have a draft and we have a question of retroactivity. And it appears the only problem we are dealing with now is retroactivity. If we want to move forward, if these people really genuinely want to move forward, we can say let's have two questions. Let's have Gambian people voting for the draft and Gambian people voting on the retroactivity. If they want to move forward. So we have two questions at referendum. Retroactivity on its own and then the draft. If
not make sense.
No, it will. I mean, if we want to make a compromise, let Gambian people decide whether, in fact, they want to.
It's one and the same, Mr. Dabo. No, there's one and the same. Whether it's in two ballots or one ballot.
Yeah.
If at all you strongly believe that the retroactivity is not fair.
Yeah.
You would vote no in the referendum.
Exactly.
No, I'm coming.
Yeah.
So if at all you think it's fair, it represents your views.
Yeah.
You will vote yes. That's what referendums
So
are all about.
Yes. But I'm saying now, why would anybody say?
Mustapha,
why would anybody deny the Gambians if you think it's going to win?
Exactly.
Why would you say, well, we want to edit that?
Listen.
Let it go to the people
Mustapha,
to decide that.
Okay.
I said this earlier.
Yeah.
Constitutions are not adjudged by parliament.
Yeah.
They are judged by the people.
Yeah.
They are the ones who have the final say.
Yeah.
So no parliament in its right conscience should stop that process because of your own personal
Let's
view.
educate ourselves here.
No,
Let me
come.
now.
I want to say something again, that is very important. We are all exposed to this world.
Yeah.
We've traveled in and outside this country. We've seen standards across the world. And one thing I found very unfortunate in our context, Gambia. Mr. Dabo, when he was in Edgware, I used to travel from Hayward Street sometimes, come all the way to Edgware. We don't have that personal relationship, but he's somebody I always looked up to and admired. And even to this day, I always wish I am like a diplomat like him.
Many people wish he was the one in government.
Exactly.
We wouldn't have all this trouble.
Exactly.
But yeah.
So the point I'm trying to say is, we have worked with civil society organizations across the world, whether it's in democracy or good governance or accountability or anti-corruption, security, you name it. We have worked with so many different organizations. We have worked with media or seen media being at their best. The reason why the West is so advanced is the media is no doubt the fourth estate of the government of the society, whereby you cannot bribe you cannot influence their thinking because they know, like Mustapha is saying, in Gambia today, it's not because he's sitting there, but he's one of the best journalists because he maintains that integrity to make sure that in his publications, facts are facts, no matter who you are. And this is what Gambia needs to do. We know the truth. There's no monopoly of who knows the truth as the others. Whether you are in a CSO, whether you are a political party, whether you are in the media, we all know what happened here. You cannot change the narrative. The fact remains, if Bakary Dabo was not the coalition flag bearer, if Khalifa Saleh was the coalition flag bearer, if Dabo was the coalition flag bearer, would we be in the same mess today? Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. But however, we are in this mess today. What do we do about it? And what is our responsibilities to society until then? We have an election coming. What do we do with our votes? So everybody, and Mr. Cham, you went through hell in the last regime.
Absolutely.
Don't overlook that can happen again. And all depends now on how you conduct yourself in this civic duty that we are approaching. Take your responsibility well. Otherwise, you will leave yourself exposed and your kids exposed to the same maltreatments that you enjoyed in the past.
Good. Very good. Now,
I like to myself,
Honorable Jawara,
take a view that instead of focusing on individual issues like the draft constitution, we should talk more in terms of the health and the vibrancy of our democracy. And I think what strikes me is the absence of civil society. I call it absence in terms of effectiveness. Because this has been the experience in many young democracies. Political parties can be actors in building democracy, in deepening democracy, but they are vulnerable. They are vulnerable to petty calculations of party interest, and that's why civil society comes in. I think of an issue like the 3-year transitional agreement, political agreement. It is really much to our misfortune as Gambians that the civil society hasn't stepped forward to take on that as a fundamental issue. This is precisely how we saw it play out in Zambia, in Malawi, even in Senegal, in Ghana. Civil society really should lead the way because they are not vulnerable to this petty party system. Exactly. And I think really looking forward, one area that I think I would like to see a fast pace of development is the effectiveness and the vibrancy of our civil society, starting with the media itself. Absolutely. You see, because then the media will play a much more constructive role than simply, sensationally looking for headlines.
Headlines.
Yeah, I think the big absentee, which is to our misfortune, is an effective civil society intervention on an issue of national importance like this. We've seen it.
Non-partisan.
In Dakar, yes, even in Senegal, when what do you call it, Wad wanted to force
that was
some changes.
It was without jumping the gun. That's our last piece of. Senegal is our last piece of.
The famous M23 is not the initiative of political parties.
Without trying to jump the gun, that's where our last topic.
I'm sorry, then, but this is.
I understand perfectly.
Yes, thank you.
I think we
may.
Let's
educate ourselves now, Honorable Sanna Jawara. What is the next step now for the discussion?
It's simple. 3 options. One is reintroduce this draft in Parliament as a new bill without a word change or a comma removed or full stop removed. And that can be fast-tracked under the certificate of urgency. By the President.
Certificate of emergency.
Urgency. Yes. Okay. So it doesn't have to go through gazetting.
Oh, okay.
So it can be reintroduced.
That's number one.
Number one. Number two, however, we have to amend, before that, we have to amend the CRC Act and give them, extend their mandate. Yeah. Because they have to come and clarify with, for us at the committee stage some of the misconceptions or some of the provisions in this draft. Number two, it can be doctored or sexed up, whatever you like, change provisions. But then it's a government bill, and it has to go through Section 102 of the 1997 Constitution by being gazetted now for 3 months. After, yes.
So if government is interested in bringing it altered, that will have to take 3 months at least.
One is not longer the Constitution.
It's no longer this one.
That the Gambian people freely express their wills, which is it's a government bill. It will come to Parliament, and they want us to know. And this is what Yajame did to this 1997 Constitution. This 1990, the original Constitution that was not done. What was the committee called? There was a committee that was put together to go and do the consultation. I think
National Consultation Committee. I remember. Baba Gale Jallo.
The 2-term limit was captured in it.
Yes.
But he removed it.
And
instead of putting it through Parliament, it didn't go through Parliament. It went straight to the referendum. So the Gambian people were denied that right.
That's why in some courts they're asking for the original copy.
I have the original, at home. Well, because it's
some court was asking for it.
Yeah. Uzeno Dabo gave it to me. I have it at home. Yakumba has another copy. So it can be brought back in Parliament, changed, but as a new bill. But for that, we have to wait 3 months and 10 days later.
So
100 days from today.
That's the second one.
Yes.
The third one?
The third one is Honorable Halifa Saleh did not move a motion in our last sitting to rescind our decision on the rejection stage of the draft. Now, there's 2 problems with that. The problem is, in the spirit of the standing orders, you cannot rescind decisions in past sittings. You can only do it on the current sitting. However, Honorable Salah quoted Section 8 of these standing orders, which is our Bible, in the parliamentary procedures, and also Section 53K, that the Speaker has that sole discretion to overlook or decide certain things, and his decision becomes final. So if the Speaker at his or her own discretion decided that we will overlook that provision that says we cannot rescind decisions of the past because of the urgency of the matter, and allow you to this motion, then the motion stands. Because when Halifa made that moved that motion, I was the one who seconded it.
Okay.
Because I understand exactly where it's coming from, and I signaled to him that you have my support. If you move the motion, I will second it. Okay. And he moved the motion, and I was grateful and honored to be the one to second that. If that was not upheld, we would have rescinded that decision, and today we would have been maybe in a very final stage of this draft. That can be done again if at all the Halifa wants to protest.
And that will save us from this gazetting and all other things.
Oh yes, that would save the whole process. Basically, it would take us back to where the speaker asks those in favor, please say aye. And the 31 members raise their hands. And those not in favor, please say no. And the 23 no.
So with the Halifa formula, I can take you straight there.
Straight back to there. So we'll just do the voting again.
Okay.
The speaker will take us back to those in favor of the draft going to the next stage, which is the third stage.
Yeah.
Please say aye, and hopefully this time, with the consensus we have, everybody will support it.
This is a very expertly
exposed. That's why I wanted to make it.
But then, of course, what is done is really to offer us operational alternatives of going about. It still leaves intact the fundamental issue of the prospects or the chances of Parliament going through, and that's why our real problem is the party system. The party system of people who control the parliamentarians using the bloc. So we have to, unless that consensus is agreed on, whichever operational route you take, you still run into it.
This is where we differ with Deutsch's position on whether to attend this
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's our only difference.
Yes, unless
we're all in the same on this.
Yes.
But our only take on the issue is let us go and see whether we can compromise.
Achieve consensus. Yes.
But for me, and personally, I will say this on air, my expectation is the president to resign.
Yes.
He's come off his high horse and understand that this is more than him.
Yes.
It's not about him. And this is about a country whose future is at a crossroad. Let him understand that such sacrifices can only make you better.
Absolutely.
Last
time we were talking about Mo Abraham price going.
But if he doesn't want to,
Yusuf was it from Niger?
Yeah,
Not
Niger.
I'm generalizing.
You know why we are sitting with this gentleman here today? Because of what he did in the past.
Absolutely. That's an impeccable recording of his.
If that only he was like Yahya Jammeh, do you think he would not sit listening here?
He would not.
So the thing is,
he would not even go to Badiba.
There are things that makes a legend a legend. It's not what you achieve; it's what you have, in fact, compromised or allowed. My uncle, the former president Sadauda, we all know,
of course,
why he is.
It's today that in fact we are realizing, even the common man will tell you, we will never have a president.
Because he's more than prepared to be trampled over.
He was
patriotic. To be spit on.
He was patriotic.
Because he is looking at the greater good.
He was patriotic.
That's why his government can always stand here and to say that since independence, we are the best to come around.
Common man will tell in the street, we will never have a government like Jawara's government.
No, we have a chance. We have a chance. I am very confident we have a shot. I am very confident, like, Sadauda Jawara, like Bakary Dabo, like, Usenu Dabo. These are people, who I see in the same light. They are of the same kind of personality. They understand the common man. They are from very humble backgrounds. They are mature. Absolutely. They are educated.
Really.
And they are not doing this, for the trappings of this world.
Well, they've been through everything. Jawara had everything. He could have the opportunity to be a dictator, one-party state like this.
We are fortunate to be in their midst, to be trained by them. This is why, many people will not understand the sacrifices, that some of us took to come into public space.
Yeah.
We were better off.
Absolutely. You made sterling contributions to the...
these are the things and we cannot leave it to them. They are facing out.
Absolutely.
They just want to come and show us the way. Make sure that, this transition and all this, storm is managed properly,
in the national
with
interest.
A steady head, and then leave it to us. For us to take this country like the Rwandas, like the Singapores, like all these other progressive nations. Who said we cannot do it?
We can.
This is the problem.
Yes, we can.
So, and that is what this constitution is trying to give us. Tenure of office. We are talking about this retroactive clause. That's the sticking point. There are so many sticking points the president is not happy about. He's just using this to see that this is the strongest case I have to prove to the people that this is against me. He doesn't want ministerial confirmations by the parliament. If Mr. Dabo is in the UN system, working as a consultant or whatever, wants to come and serve his country, and he's appointed a minister, what tenure of office does he have? If at all, the man who employs him can just say, any day, just turn around and sack him because he doesn't want to do something against the right of this person.
Exactly. That's
so he needs that little bit of.
That's some of the things he fought in court.
You think that will be partisan, because then you don't make laws for today. Look at the next 50 years. Is the combination in the National Assembly going to remain the same?
No way.
No. So obviously, if at all, the UDP is looking at this to say, we want to pass this law because it's going to affect the powers of Barrow. Wait until we come into power. It will take the same powers of us.
Absolutely.
So no, this is not about us. This is about having a governance structure, institutions that are within a framework of making sure that the only winner is the citizen.
Mustapha, I was trying to educate ourselves and our viewers as to what can happen now with the document we have now. What is the way forward? It's outlined the 3 ways that it can happen. But it remains, for me, it still remains that whichever way you took, like the Honorable Dabo said, you still have these bottlenecks. You must have a consensus first before you can get anywhere.
Well, we all know what it should be easy if we all agree on the content to move it forward.
Yes.
But the problem is we don't
what
agree
is holding us
we
from
don't
agreeing
agree on the content.
Yes.
And that's where we are right now. And I do think that we should move forward.
Jawara thinks that one person who should consider national interest above his is President Barrow. Just forgot this thing and said, well, you know what? Everybody has presidents 2 times, so I'm going to do that.
But the things are not even about Barrow.
Exactly.
For example, like let's assume we agree to Barrow's 15 years. He's only there for 15 years, right? And then if he leaves, the same constitution applies to me or him or him or him, anybody who comes after. That's the same constitution. So it's not even about Barrow. If we tailor the conversation in such a way that it encourages public participation, everybody's genuine views,
which already
are
happened
accommodated, yes,
which
we should be able to create some kind of a level ground. For me, the term limit is not about give and take. The term limit is the sovereign desires of the sovereign Gambians, and for me, I'm not ready to cede anything to anyone on that. 10 years for everyone, including the president, including Barrow. For me, that's uncompromising.
If you
and other issues such as parliamentary approval of the appointment of even Guinea-Bissau. You see, the crisis that happened there in 2015, in 2016, I was there with my colleague on a reporting trip, and a parliament, the prime minister in Bissau has to take his own programs to the parliament for it to be approved before he gets appointed. Bissau, many places.
Ghana.
This is the current practice. Parliamentarians are, and if we had given the chance to Justice Jallow to come and explain the rationale of certain clauses in the draft, we would have been enlightened. I am a journalist. I can talk on logical basis and based on some research. But he is a legal man. He talks based on what the profession says about certain issues. And you talked about the issue of the Senegal that you said you come in to talk about. But the problem that CRC's position on this retroactivity was informed by the crisis in Senegal.
And many other places. Okay.
And many other places, of course.
Let's go straight there. Honorable Jawara, unless you have some remnant issues on the constitution. Like I told you, these days you hear all kind of disciples saying, well, it's only one party now that is holding everybody, and that's UDP. You have taken time to explain that very well, isn't it?
I'll advise you to see the credible.
Yeah, I know. You see political leaders making that statement, etc.
I mean, it's very unfortunate.
Yeah.
There's one political leader that I am very much fond of his family, and when I just stumbled on his interview with I think ITV Africa.
ITV. Yeah.
And when he started accusing UDP for being the problem,
yeah,
it just gone to my groins. You know, I felt very, 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 very bad, very depressed about that. No, because I remember his party member in parliament voted against this draft constitution.
No. Was also calling Kerr Fatou.
I'm not even
he made similar accusations on you in Kerr Fatou. And I mean, the response had been that, is that you talking?
My final say about this draft constitution, since we are moving to another topic, is this. The Gambian people should know that this draft is about them and nobody else, that they are the dignified. From them, we drive our powers. From them, they have given us the power, the authority to form government. All to keep them dignified. If they fail to stand their ground and succumb to us as politicians, they will never, ever again in this life, prosper.
In other words, we have to see.
We are the ones who should not give in to them, not the other way around.
Yeah.
So for me, fundamentally, to give in, not to borrow on this, it's like giving the future of the Gambia to him. He should come and meet us, not the other way around. And I will say this here: if this thing comes to Parliament and he doesn't want to compromise on it, or to be different, I'm not going to support the bill. Not because I'm UDP,
but because of course you are Gambian.
Yes.
Well, yes. Thank you very much for those enlightened thoughts, perspectives on the Constitution. Now, we wanted to complete, of course, with the crisis in Senegal. You, as a National Assembly member, of course, very familiar with the case of Senegal. The Honorable Bakary Dabo actually worked there, and he knows the dynamics of politics around the region, having worked for UN and other places, following events, political events in various parts of West Africa. Now, Senegal, for a long time, has been seen to be a beacon of democracy in our region. They had no natural resources, not that I know of, or other things that would have really easily placed them among countries who are very well respected in the international scene. They are often represented in the G20, in many other respected forums, just because they had this unique history of being the only, in West Africa, the only country in West Africa, particularly, who has never had this trouble of disruption of the political order by illegal means, etc., etc. But today, what we have seen, or what we have seen from the trajectory that President Sall actually is now hell-bent on pursuing a third term, and this would lead him to do all kinds of things, including, allegedly, using the criminal justice system against his political opponents. Did it against President Wad's son, Mustapha Abdul Khalifa Sall, a powerful mayor, was potentially seen to be a big wig in the opposition against his second term bid. Now, Ousmane Sonko is very much seen to be his target now, even though, of course, we have to respect the fact that Sonko was accused of rape, even though there are a lot of credibility questions as to the investigation, as to the veracity of it. But are we seeing President Sall again trying to allegedly use the justice system to eliminate his potential opponents?
Well, I think that as you are talking, I was thinking about the difference between Senegal and the Gambia.
We'll come to the Gambian point.
I think that one thing Senegal is getting right, that we don't get right, and it's related to this constitution, is the issue of accountability. This country will not have a prophet to lead it. This country will only have people like me, like him, who are bound to lie, bound to deceive, bound to be. But you see, in Senegal, when you lie, when you deceive, when you attempt to use power to defraud, or when you do things that are not in line with proper democratic values, what happens? You are held to account by your actions. And that's what you've seen with Ablaye Wade, and that's what you've seen with Macky Sall. What would have happened if Senegalese said, you see, this is Sonko business. What is his party? PSTEF, or I don't know what is PSTEF or whatever. Yeah, if they did as we doing in this country, oh, this is about PSTEF problem. They had a problem. These people protest all the time. you think what would have happened? The guys who protested until Macky Sall came into power are the same guys who protested for one of their guys. I don't know, they call them Yanamar.
Yeah, the Yanamar is enough on the
now
June.
you see,
and
now
the June
in
28
Senegal,
movement.
they get only one
Like
thing
Mr.
right,
Dabo was
and
saying,
only
this-
one thing right: accountability.
Mr. Dabo
And
was
that
saying
accountability
that there's
comes with their media, vibrance, and the civil society. And he was
Mr.
talking
Dabo was
about
talking
civil
about
society.
civil societies,
Exactly. You see, unless we have, because there is no guarantee that even if UDP comes into power, Mr. Dabo, that he is an elder statesman coming to power, is going to be a Democrat. He could be a dictator for all we know. But the reality is that if you have institutions that
are strong,
avoids, that protects,
and are willing to
the republic,
voice out the republic,
we don't have transgressions.
But-
That's the reality, and this is what you've seen in Senegal.
Well, let's go back a little bit. Okay, that is their perspective. But do you believe there's any credibility? Let's go to where it all started. Mr. Sall may be using this, to get to his opponents. But is there any credibility in the accusation about Adisar against against Sonko?
My issue with rape is that I know that giving our experience, even at the TRRC, and a lot of powerful people who have seem to have done accused stuff in the past, even in this country. I'm just using the Gambian experience, and of course the experience of Dominic Strauss-Kahn and others. My conviction always, when a woman comes out to say I've been raped, tells me that we should give them some kind of
benefit of the doubt.
Yes, benefit of the doubt. Until the process effectively, I mean, we should really trust in the institutions. What Usman also did was to charge the atmosphere such that, in a way that I don't personally agree with.
That is what, by holding a press conference? And
not by holding a press conference, but he had, in a way, called his supporters out on the street, and even when he was arrested, he was not cuffed, but when he was going out, he put his hand on his back as if he were cuffed, which anyway suggests maybe he did it for photo opportunities, but he was not cuffed. And
okay,
I think there were a lot of little bit of sensational details put together, including his own populist rhetoric against France and against power, or that also galvanized and made an angry.
He may have made a meal out of the whole situation.
But in a larger way.
But who provoked the crisis?
I think the crisis was not Sonko. Maki provoked the crisis.
Maki provoked the crisis,
in my opinion.
Okay,
because I think the circumstances were Sonko, I think, had made some mistakes.
You know what Mr. Jawara
But the
said?
circumstances were such that so you arrested your opponents. You have a way and a unique way and quite a consistent way of dealing with
in
them.
the criminal justice system.
Yes. So if something like the Sonko case shows up, people are bound to say, oh, he did this to Kariman, he did this to the Sal fellow, and now he's doing it to Sonko, and they can be forgiven for holding such an opinion. But what is more important when you see the Senegalese crisis, and I'm sure you must have followed Nick's report on the issue, it's that there was a crisis below a crisis, like there was inequality. People are angry about. There was unemployment.
Honorable Jawara, what do you make of the situation in Senegal? So it must have a little bit, if not a big influence or correlation with the Gambian situation. We hope we don't get there, but
it is. However, as a politician, I wanted to be very careful of my take on these issues until when I saw a news. A publication of one of the members of the Pastef, not Pastef,
of Sonko's party or
of
police.
No, of the APR. Is it APR?
Oh, APR. That is APR of Sal.
Yeah.
Yes.
They basically cook this thing up. That's basically this is a conspiracy.
Okay.
I mean, how can you challenge that? somebody who's done something coming to confess in public to say we did this.
And
I told my guys, as parliamentarians, and this is a parliamentarian, it's not like anybody else.
Yes.
The parliamentarians to say this thing was a conspiracy to eliminate this guy as a potential opponent.
That was very bold of the
that is a very significant factor that you cannot overlook in the whole situation. However, I am not a Senegalese. I am not part of their judicial or whatever system. I cannot say for sure. I understand that their law is different from our law. You are guilty until proven innocent in Senegal. In our case, you are innocent until proven guilty. So, however one perceives it, it's left to them.
But you haven't seen any coincidence.
Naturally,
President Sal's method of doing things.
He doesn't want to talk Sal
down.
down.
Naturally, I would have left the distinguished diplomat to speak on this so that I can learn from him.
No, he would use a diplomatic language. So I want you to show understanding.
So that you two can confine my words.
You didn't see any coincidence in the methods the President Wade used in the past to eliminate his opponents.
Like I said, I can relate to Sonko in so many ways, more than one. Sonko is a higher.
You know what Mr. Wade once said of Sonko? He said, very, very, very promising politician, but he's not mature.
Well, I would not say that he's not mature. I mean,
would you expect a mature man?
I go to Coco Ozone to get a massage.
To massage?
Yes.
Be careful.
No. Why should I be careful?
Well, there could be another idea, sir.
No. My wife would actually pay for me to go and get a massage.
Accompany her.
It doesn't have to accompany me because it's not. It's a professional outfit.
Be careful, let
me come. Let's give everything a
proper perspective.
But why would you go to?
There is a hotel or there are outlets out there.
Massage parlors.
Absolutely.
Are professionals.
Yes.
In what they do.
Yes.
And you go, park your car, pay for the services, and get a service.
But now, why would you?
No, it's like going to the barber shop. I'm coming. It's like going to the barber shop. My wife cannot know.
The difference is there.
The difference is not there.
Why would you need another woman?
Do you know?
Now listen, why would you need another woman looking after you when you have?
But that's a
you go to this
misconception.
massage
He was
parlor.
not looking for another woman.
You go to this
He went
massage
for a
parlor.
massage.
There are compartments. It's a public place. You cannot rape a woman in this room, and there's another room. Somebody is also there. Yes. Whatever happens there, whether it is sexual transactions or whatever, it must be on consensus, not a rape. Because you cannot come to this building and be in one room. Mr. Dabo is in another room. You are in another room, and I'm in another room, and I rape somebody.
Take place,
and then again finish. Start my car, drive off. Days later, you come and claim that I raped you. So we have to be genuine and understand Africa's problem. This is not confined to the Senegal. We have seen.
You really actually want to point the finger at somebody. You believe in the conspiracy theory in this thing?
Well, we have seen across our sub-region such tendencies of people turning like Mustapha said, and I want to come back to and hit that part. Macky Sall was my role model among African presidents.
Yes.
Apart from Paul Kagame. Yeah. Senegal has a long history of a democracy.
Yes.
I mean, Senegal, I've never had, maybe Mr. Dabo will enlighten us now, because Honorable Dabo will enlighten us because now he was a diplomat now in there. I never heard of a coup d'etat in Senegal.
West Africa, Senegal is the only country.
One of the most democratic countries that Gambia can now learn from, although it was the other way.
They were learning from us.
They were learning from us.
Yeah.
But now we can come back and learn from them. Yeah. So for them to be reduced to this, I think it's a shame on African history.
Okay, Honorable Dabo, you know Senegal very well, I'm sure, and you still follow events there, even though we expect you to talk diplomatically about this issue. But who provoked the crisis?
Senegal, in relation to Gambia, is a very complex, quantity, and it's very sophistication adds to the complexity. So it's difficult to give a black or white answer to most of this. I think though the issue is important and we shouldn't trivialize it to little things about the personal moral conduct. I mean, that's an issue. If it were reduced that proportion, we leave it to the justice to decide whether something took place that's illegal or not. And that's not important. I think the way I see it, what is at play there is built pent-up feelings, social issues that have led to strong pent-up feelings on one hand, particularly made worse by the COVID economic impact of the COVID. But the other part also, there is a political issue in that there is a perception that President Wade is not above.
Shall now.
Is not above.
Shall or what?
Is not above some hanky-panky, including misuse of the judicial system or the criminal justice system. Even though I still say it's a perception, I think President Sall can say something in his own defense in respect of each of those three celebrated cases. In the case of Karim Wade, it was a law which is on the statute book. It had not been applied for a long time. You've applied it for a short while and then sort of put it on, but it was there. So in taking on Karim Wade and a few of the dignitaries and applying that law, he was not really doing more than applying the law. Even though, of course,
was eliminating along the process.
No. There you have to look at just the principle. The person makes less difference. I think the weakness in that is that, unfortunately, he hasn't pushed it through. After Karim Wade and a few others have not, and he himself is on record as saying I've received audit reports and I'm sitting on them. So that could open him to the charge of using it to eliminate it. But strictly speaking, on the facts, yes, the law was there, and all he did was to apply it to Karim Wade. In the case of Khalifa Sall, who is also a personal friend of mine, yes, he did say that he was acting in accordance again with the law relating to accountability. It's unfortunate. So, and now to this other one, it is even easier for him to say that, well, this is a complaint from a citizen. And that citizen must accept has equal rights and equal dignity as Sonko. So if he complains that something wrong has been done to the detriment of a person, this should be looked into. But unfortunately, in politics, perception sometimes overrides the reality. And that is really one of the main factors at play here. The perception that Sall is not above this kind of hanky-panky to the social problems, context. I think these are the ones that sort of exploded, and the issue of Usman Sonko is just a catalyst. It's a situation which is just explosive, and it's a difficult thing. But still, fundamentally, Senegal as a democracy remains solid by African standards.
Even with this.
Yes, even with this. One, because the institutions are there. And some of them may not work perfectly, but some of them are there. You talk about even Senegal's record for not military intervention.
Never had a military intervention.
It's not just the vibrancy of the democratic practice, but the very military institution has been built to a certain professional level, which is quite high. It goes back to the 1962 constitutional crisis, when Senghor enjoyed narrating this, when he was told that the head of the army, General Fall, sided with Jah, but he got his deputy, Colonel Alfred Jallow, come to his house, and when he was told Colonel Alfred Jallow was in his sitting room waiting for him, he came in pajamas, but with a copy of the Constitution. That Senghor liked to do. I came with a copy of the Constitution in case whatever Colonel Jallo came to raise with me. I need to, rely on the Constitution. And it turned out, because Colonel Jallo was a completely different disposition. He was going to take a stand in defense of him, and that's really what turned the tide. So the strength of their institutions, including not just the political, the state institutions, are generally very solid compared to most others. That goes on. Secondly, latterly, the last 20 years or so, we saw the coming into force of the civil society, the point I mentioned earlier, including the media, which have really been very assertive in safeguarding the political attainments or the political achievements of the country as something, part of the national patrimony that they believe should not be left just to political parties to do. And I think that is still basically there in place. In addition, they have some peculiar cultural things. The role of their religious leaders. They also use that sometimes to help diffuse these tensions. But I think basically they are strong. Now, the question of those want to go for third term, that's really speculative. It's difficult to say. But now it's brought right in the forefront because the latest concession made by the newly set up movement is that they now want him to come out and be quite clear, contrary to his rather ambivalent position of saying I will say neither nor yes. But now pressure is being put on him to come out and say it. I don't know. I really don't want to judge him on that he has that intention. But we'll now see. Now that he's on the pressure.
At a personal level, most of these past and young politicians in Senegalese political scene now. But I don't think Sal was in anywhere known in the political side when you were.
No. I didn't know Sal. I had a lot of dealings, but mainly at the time, with the Socialist Party actors. Wow. What I had a lot of dealings with him when he was in the opposition. A lot of dealings and his people. But up to Idrissa Sal, Adama Sal, Idrissa Seck, Adama Sal, those ones I knew. And Marcel Badian. But not the
Tanor Jangs,
Tanor, yes, Tanor knew. I knew Tanor more as a civil servant when he was before he became prominent in the politics. But to come to the point, I think Senegal is a complex political thing. We'll wait and see, but I basically remain confident that the stability will be preserved. A, because institutions are strong. Two, they have got this safety valve. And their religious leaders,
religious and other traditional
social communicators.
They have even they called traditional communicators, all of them played well. One thing they say something about Senegal. He said what he likes about Senegal, which we said Gambians should learn of, is that when it comes to politics, you will see FASDEF, APR, Benno Boko, Yakar, etc. here, but just come to this market here at the turntable, and the government adopt a policy that would require everybody get out of that place. That day you will not know who is APR or who is because the common interest is threatened, and this is what Gambians don't do.
The institutions that work. Institutions work. Institutions put in charge of that kind of directive, unpopular as it might be, do still enforce it to a large extent.
It's interesting thing. Any more your take on Senegal? Finally, actually, when they want to make Senegal.
After hearing what Mr. Honorable Dabo said, I felt like I talked too much
on the matter. Okay, it was also supposed to be the second to last would have been the TRRC. So let's quickly cover that in 10 minutes. We know all the time since 2005 that something fishy had really happened in the case of these West African migrants. Over the last couple of weeks, so we getting increasingly clear that there was some cover-up within the security and people in the hierarchy. This thing. Now, this is one aspect of all the workings of the TRRC, which really now, made us a focus of international focus, even sharper than all the other human rights violations said. How much do you think this matter will go in terms of galvanizing the people walking around bringing Gambia to justice. You covered it extensively, the TRRC, Mustapha. Finally, on this topic, did we learn anything new that actually over 60 people might have been killed here because of one reason or the other? Example, them being paraded as machineries, and and all sort of excuses that they probably have been robbed of their monies and then presented as machineries, etc.
Well, we learn a number of things. I'm sure you are aware of the Human Rights Watch and Trial International investigations, which began, I think,
after the changes.
After the changes, and ended up in 2018, and then it was published. Even that formed some basis for some basic evidence to be laid out. For example, tying Gambia to the murder. But you see, TRRC has the ability to take it to a whole new level, because TRRC has the capacity to say, come even if you don't want to come.
Yes.
And then TRRC utilized that even well. You could see that in the Trial International and Human Rights Watch investigation, we do not even know how many people.
Yes.
But what we know in our mind was that no, because migrants who leave the shores of this country, they don't go in 44, they don't go in 51. Those boats, they take more than that.
More than that, hundreds.
But we don't know how. Like, we had these questions. They could have been more than this.
Yeah.
Sometimes some would even go up to 200, some of those boats.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, so, and we didn't know, like, we knew they were arrested. But how were they arrested? What were the circumstances? Was any register made of their arrest? Were there police diaries? Like, how do we connect the Gambia government to the arrest, then to the detention, then to the execution? Because you remember Oya and the junglers came, and Oya told us he participated in the execution of 45.
About 45.
Right? But the dead bodies we found is 8.
Yeah,
so we know a minimum of 8 people died.
Yes.
We know at least up to about 67 people could have been involved.
Yeah.
But we know 51 was recorded at government's own police station.
Yeah.
51 was recorded.
Yeah.
Remember when they got to Bara, some left them there
Yeah.
and then moved to Banjul.
Exactly.
So it could be up to 61. But perhaps it's even more.
Yeah.
Right? But what TRRC did was they took the case from Bara, the police officers who arrested them,
Yeah.
and Babukar Ba who recorded their names. Remember, Babukar Ba was before the commission and he was giving the list.
Yeah.
And then the spelling errors in that the list, he was asked to write a list, and Esa was reading the names. The spelling errors he made on that list, and the spelling errors that are on this list. And the writing style are the same and everything. So they concluded, and he said he had recorded 2 lists. And we know Ngor Seka, the director of operations at the NIA at the time, took the list from Kairaba, but didn't say who recorded the list.
Them, yes.
So in other words, we didn't know who recorded the list.
Yeah.
So by Babukar Ba's testimony, we now know that Babukar Ba recorded the list.
Exactly.
And so there was, and then there was that connection, right, from the list, which is confirmed also by his SO Ibrahim Jawara Demba, the station officer. And then we move up to the detention, up to the Navy, up to Usman Jallo, who was the director of investigations at NIA at the time, admitting to also participating in their movement from Bara to Navy base.
So as Trial International and other human rights groups established, there definitely was a cover-up in the entire process. What ordinary people find difficult to understand is, how is a properly instituted government with all these intelligence agents failed to establish that these people are, one, armless, defenseless. They could speak English, they could tell you, they could talk to you where they're coming from and where they are going and what circumstances that brought them here. They could speak to you in very clear English. How could such people ended up being killed?
Yeah. So the complex nature of that, I can just give you before you pass it to him. The complex nature of that, and I'm telling you, that's a question we don't know answers to.
Absolutely.
Right now, even the TRRC does not know answers to, because one, even before you talk about, there were telephone numbers you could call. These people, their relatives had communication details with them.
Yes.
Even contact
they could speak
Tumbul.
plain English.
There was a Gambian who was
English.
connected now.
Yeah.
But the most important and the fundamental thing, which is even more than that, and that's which makes it even more complicated as to what was Jambe thinking, was that they were arrested. These people were moved to Banjul at midnight on the 22nd.
Yeah.
Because that's when they were arrested. Then by the time they were dispatched to all the 4 detention centers they were taking, it was 4 a.m. Right? 4 a.m. on the 23rd. You people discovered the body later on the 20?
On Sunday.
Yeah, that was on the 23rd, almost.
Yeah.
So now the question is, what time do you have to investigate? No time.
Okay. They were just killed in cold
so
blood.
then that takes you to the question of, were they killed because they think they were mercenaries? Or was there any underlining?
In fact, the very first time Gambians got to know more details about this was actually through the publications of the Gambia Echo, published at the time by the current spokesman Ibrahim Haji Sankara. I remember he was the very first in Gambian affairs media who reported that, look, serious things had happened. Those West Africans have been killed. Nobody believed him at the time, but all what he said have been authenticated day by day at the commission. Very quickly, wrapping up this matter, Honorable Jawara.
Yeah, this issue gives me goosebumps. It does. My particular personal experience, I was in detention in England under the immigration laws when this thing happened in the Gambia.
Oh, yeah.
And I cannot say for sure why I was released all of a sudden, but I want to believe that the killings at that time, and which was an international,
actually had a role in.
Yes, I was in detention for 2 months. The old man Sadada would call me every evening, 6 o'clock, to see how I'm trekking. And this thing, captured the international attention, and all of a sudden one evening, I got a call to say, you can go home. I don't think Gambia is safe for you to go home.
Oh, it helped your immigration side.
Yes.
Oh, you see how things can happen.
I don't know. I still want to believe that those helped my application.
Yeah, in many ways.
But also what it also has manifested is, I think this case has given the TRRC a justifiable mandate to say there is a lot that has happened in this country, and unfortunately we would not have never known if it wasn't for the TRRC.
Absolutely.
And for people who played key roles in this to come with astounding or very undeniable evidences to show is in itself a big learning, a revelation that we all need to take stock.
Finally, we all turn to you, Mr. Dabo, for a final conclusion on this. Given the positions you held in government and international exposure to human rights issues, etc., let me ask you, what sort of flaws in terms of government or security could have led to this type of ugly situation? In fact, let me ask personally, where were you when you were? You were in exile in London, somewhere in London. When did you first come across this news?
2005.
We're talking about which year was this?
July
2005, July.
Oh, I was in the field. I was working for the UN.
Okay.
Yeah. Look, I really cannot compete with him. He's an investigation journalist. He knows about all those things. I think the positive thing that I want to salute is that the TRRC is proving a useful opportunity to put some searchlights on what happened, and I I hope the whole truth will come out, and that consequential action, including trial of people, whatever it is, will be taken by the authorities concerned, primarily the Gambian authorities, but in the particular case of the migrants, I think Ghana government is also under pressure from his own people.
Absolutely.
So that one I welcome and I hope for the best. But there is an incidental detail which has now also come out, which is not what you are asking about, but I want to use the opportunity to highlight it, and it made me very sad. I don't, because of lack of time, routinely follow the proceedings on the media, but this particular day I happened to be around when the minister for the former Inspector General, but who is now a minister,
Justice,
was being
Interior.
Right, and it seems maybe, I mean, I was not in the position of the commissioners. We wait for their own assessment of it. But the impression I was getting was such that it makes me wonder whether his position as a minister right now is tenable from the point of view of public confidence and credibility. If somebody in a position of Inspector General of Police could knowingly go along and engage in such a horrendous crimes for whatever grounds, and seems to most decent Gambians would say that they would expect somebody other than that person to hold the high position of minister. And this makes me worry. And I'm not offering any unsolicited advice to Mr. Barrow. He has many advisors, I hope they will draw his attention to it. But it bothers me because, you see, the ethical integrity and also the moral standing of holders of major public office is an issue of very great importance in governance, particularly in terms of getting the public confidence in the system. I wouldn't even refer to what happens that I knew of in other countries, but even our little Gambia here, there have been outstanding cases of the authorities at the time standing up to this kind of thing and maintaining the highest possible standards. There is a much publicized but often distorted story about the circumstances that led to the removal of Sirif Diba, one of the preeminent statesmen from office at the time. And I was fortunate enough to be in the system, not as a political actor, but as a civil servant.
When he resigned
and senior enough to know exactly what happened. This was a case of nothing more.
The Butur scandal.
Nothing more than his brother, not himself. His brother getting involved in an activity which is of questionable legality, because at the time the Senegalese law didn't frown on bringing in Gambian currency. It was in the Senegalese law, but then of course it doesn't tell well on the country's economic management that our currency was being smuggled in. And this time, because it affected the brother of the vice president, who also by further coincidence happened to be staying with him, that was strong enough to make the authorities then to feel that it makes the position of Sirif Diba untenable as vice president. And he was asked to leave. And it must be said, to his further credit, that he seemed to have taken it in good state, because I remember the exchange of letters were publicized. And he didn't question. He did say that he still persisted in saying that, well, he had nothing to do with it, but he could understand why. So that was a kind of standard that was set here. And that was not the only one. There were many cases. I hate to even go personal, but his elder brother was Minister of Local Government.
With Diba again?
When I was Vice President, who had nothing like anything corrupt blamed for. But it was just the fact that he had health issues which kept him away from office for a bit too long. And in my own initial view was it wasn't too long. And I knew it because I used to oversee his ministry while he was away. But he believed that he needed to take the treatment in Bansang, and he was sometimes in the habit of going, missing about the odd week. But that was enough for the authorities then, the president, who happened to be his own father, to direct me to go to his house in Cape Point to dictate his letter of resignation, because he feels that really, well, that's maybe even you can say a different category, but that's a kind of standard that the public needs in the leadership of the country. But okay, if you feel like call Keba is different category, but take the case of the late Abdullah Mbu,
Inspector General of Police,
who had been promoted Minister of Interior within a year or so, certainly after the Kukoi incident. And during those days when the trial started, one of the witnesses did reveal in court in his evidence that yes, when in the run-up to the Kukoi incident, he and somebody had been to the Inspector General of Police and warned him that something like that was being planned. And that was broadcast on the air in the evening. By the following morning, I was directed to ask the minister to come, and he was asked to surrender his. And I knew a few. I don't even want to go personal. But these are standards which I think are very essential in a government that cares about its credibility. Here we have seen this. I don't know. Maybe I'm too hurried because it was only last week. But I just wondered whether really a minister like this, who has, because I'm talking in terms of what he himself seemed to have confessed, not just what he was alleged to. But then, I'm also aware that we have seen few cases in the past.
Worst cases.
Which made me worried. There was a case of the vice president who lied about her age. It was a lie. There's no nicer
way about it. Yes,
it was a lie because some media people proved it with documentary evidence that the age she offered was, and that was a very material issue because that was what would affect her qualification from legal point of view. But again, I would have really thought very seriously if I was the one appointing a minister who can lie on an issue like this.
You never continue that.
Not only you retained her by the back door, but you even promoted her. And to make matters worse, you came to sack her less than a year later over an issue which appears to me less fundamental. But I don't know the full details. I only heard her say on the radio, on the TV, that the ambassador reported her and somebody else wanted her position as vice president. So if that's the real reason for sacking her, after you had been to that extra mile of bending over to take her on board, even after she had shown herself to be below this, and then few others. There is the case that I think you exposed about fisheries. Now, it's not proven yet, and maybe the case is on, but really it's difficult for me to sit as a minister with that kind of thing over my head, sit with you. I mean, for me to keep you as minister with that kind of thing hanging over your head.
We have and there are worse cases, and believe me, there are worse cases.
The fertilizer in Jawara, which disappeared only to be caught by Senegalese law. That also didn't. So I'm really worried.
With all due respect,
I'm worried that the standard, what I would consider reasonable standards of cleanliness, still doesn't seem to be bothered, on the present leadership, and it's really. I think that's not helpful for public confidence about the credibility of the government itself.
I remember, I just don't want to be...
But that's not what you asked for, that's me saying it.
Exactly. I don't want to be disrespectful.
And there are no shortage of examples like that even before the TRRC.
Oh, really?
Absolutely.
Yes, people have been...
The lead council tries it at every moment to highlight it.
Yes. I think what this has taught us is that Gambia used to be better than this.
I was going to bring... I was
Men of integrity, absolutely, because I was going to bring cases.
I was going to bring 2 or 3 funny incidents that really actually went against the spirit of professionalism and integrity at the time, in the own cabinet at the time. Former journalist, investigative journalist Sanna, published corruption issues that affected Shehu Sabale and the late Lamin Nafa Saho of Central Bari, but they didn't resign. And in fact, on the contrary, Sabari was appointed with even more senior responsibility. Even though Jawara was himself had said that anybody who's believed to really do anything compromising, that would face the music.
No,
that was a blemish.
I can see the temptation you have to. But I think they are very different kettles of fish.
How are they different?
Yeah, I'm coming to that.
Yes.
What happened was that it wasn't that the ministers concerned. There were more than two.
Wow.
There was the minister for...
That was Sabali,
Saho,
Nafa,
Sonko, and even Antilu. His name was...
You mean Landing Jalo Sonko?
Yeah, it is Sonko, yes. And
Luis Mendy.
Hold it.
Luis Njai.
Hold it. Their names were mentioned. First, in a very poorly argued article. I remember it very well. I also happen to know Sanna Mane was my schoolmate. Well, it was a very kind of sensational thing. No proof was given.
Okay.
Not even an attempt to give proof was given. He just said that this is hanky-pankies are going on in their department. It was Sabali and Sonko and Saho who actually filed a criminal libel complaint against Sanna.
Okay.
You see, so that's the issue.
I see.
What went to court was that these three gentlemen convinced the Attorney General to allow them to have a case filed against for criminal libel. That was what was being tried.
I see.
And if I remember rightly, I think, yes, the case, that issue went in their favor, except that in his summing up, the magistrate or the judge, Grant, did say that he would expect the authorities to still look into some of the allegations that this person made. That was all that was, by way of indictment. That was the only indictment. It was not that there was a proven case or so.
But could they also have
No,
moral stand by resigning?
No, hold it. Yeah, okay, no, I think if I am accused, and I believe wrongly, and I take the person to court, and the court on that substantive issue gave it right that the case is, he doesn't have enough reasons to come to the conclusion he drew. Well, why should I have to resign because of that? Now, what happened subsequently was what increased the suspicion, and I don't know, and I don't want to make judgment.
I know, you just want
I'm coming.
lessons.
That's very important.
Yeah.
Because what happened was that Sanna Mane, being what he was, said he was going to appeal against the findings of the judge or the magistrate. Yet he did, I suppose he did file. But before the case was heard, it was said he got a personal arrangement.
Compromise, yes.
A personal arrangement worked out with one of the ministers, I think Sabali, and went to Malaysia to study.
Yes. We had
on what? Knowing Sanna Sabali at his age was unlikely. So that did cost some amount of doubt in people's mind.
Yeah.
But in the first thing, the worst enemy of Sanna Mane was Sanna Mane himself. He didn't handle it. Not only he presented a poorly presented case, was taken to court and ruling was against him. But when he claimed he felt he was denied justice and he wanted to appeal, he abandoned it. I think, to be quite fair, those were my colleagues.
Interesting historical lessons.
It's
many people believe at the time that after that Sabali and others who got promoted, it shouldn't have been.
There's always two sides to the story.
So it was nice to hear from you.
That's what happened.
Today we have an opportunity to hear from you.
It was Sabali and the others who went to court.
Yes, that's right.
To seek for a ruling that they were wrongly maligned. And the court...
I remember even Sadawara had to go to court against West African Magazine, who accused him of acquiring a luxury yacht. He won and preferred to share the damage.
Not only that, several even against the Daily Mail.
Daily Mail?
No, I think, to come to my point, I'm really making a contrast.
Absolutely, I see your point.
Standards of
ethics and standards.
And what we are now seeing. And I'm unhappy about it as a Gambian, in the interest of our democracy and good governance. That's my concern. I'm not personal. I'm not doing it for personal, but I'm citing concrete cases which people knew of. That the vice president lied. That was true. There is no two way of doing about it. And yet the president closed his eyes to it. Not only that, but he even kept her in some kind of role, called her, I don't know.
For much longer.
And you know there are not even more recent cases
which I don't know.
before the TRRC.
Yeah,
and also
people
even the presidents in a core involved in the passport. Look at even our diplomatic passports and how they were beaten down to that level. To be honest, integrity in governance, it's not there. And that's what he's trying to call your attention to. I mean, lead counsel, in his own subtle ways, try to bring these facts, bring these facts to even these people.
Well, thank you very much. It's never enough to learn from people like the Honorable Bakary Dabo, the Secretary General of the Gambia for all. Thank you very much for sharing these valuable lessons with us here in the studio. You're always welcome. I can tell you that as far as you are concerned, your invitation is open. It's for you to tick one box, and then we get into that.
Let's thank you for giving us this opportunity. It was for me a pleasure to have be on the panel with these two eminent gentlemen, and to commend Kerr Fatou for the good job you're doing. You only got words of encouragement for you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry that we had to have this, so I don't know how that will affect the quality.
You've been perfectly heard, audibly, perfectly heard, and seen all around the world. Mustapha Dabo, journalist, editor of Malagan, investigative blog, Malagan. Malagan, yeah. Honorable Sanna Jawara, of course, National Assembly member for Upper Fuladu West. I've always asked, why do you have Lower Fuladu East, opposite side?
No, Lower Fuladu West.
He has more. He can tell us history, but we always have him.
I think what happened is Upper Fuladu and Lower Fuladu we are the same constituency.
Okay.
And Jawara was the other Fuladu.
Yeah. Jawara.
But then Jawara is now.
Jawara was on MC Jabo.
Yes, Jawara was Upper Fuladu. Okay. And then Lower Fuladu was where we are now. But now our constituency is now divided into two.
No, I think historically that area, of course, retained the historical name of Fuladu from the time of Alpha Molo, where their influence went over much of what is now from Tumana and all the way to near Nyamina. Now, with the colonial administration put in place, the upper part was referred to as Eastern Fuladu, Fuladu East. Fuladu East, yes. I was myself commissioner in Basse, and that was the name, Fuladu East, which in terms of electoral districts had been broken into Jawara and Basse, and even Tumana. They were all part of Fuladu East district.
Function, electrolyte tests, body composition, hemoglobin, A1C, and many more services with the highest efficiency in delivering results. The addition to our flagship, Wellness on Wheels, more fondly known as WOW Delivery Service, brings the entire clinical experience full circle. IGH has remained committed to creating the future of healthcare delivery. Gone are the days of sending loved ones outside the country for basic medical services. Innovarex Global Health offers a new peace of mind and takes pride in delivering the quality of care we all deserve.